welcome back to the Giant Overreaction. This is the Week 16 edition. Had to come and give y'all some content. Y'all know how it goes, man. We got to keep it real over here on Awthentik and the Beard. We appreciate everybody pulling up. Notification gang is in the building. Y'all know what it is, man. Today, we're going to be talking about them New York Giants taking that major L to the Philadelphia Eagles, 34-10. The NFC East, man, has been a wild picture for all teams involved. The Cowboys definitely putting their best foot forward against the Washington football team. They took them out 56-14. I was watching that game late in the fourth quarter. My girl walked in the room and she said, 56? That is just ridiculous. I want to say it's the most points that the Cowboys have scored in over 40 years. Makes no sense. Dak Prescott had 4 touchdowns on the day, 330 yards, and Taylor Heineke, he was getting banged up again. It's starting to look like the Dallas Cowboys are his kryptonite. He was 7 of 22 for 121 yards, 2 interceptions, and 1 touchdown. So for those of y'all that follow Awthentik and the Beard on a regular basis, y'all know that Tuesdays are normally our recap shows for the previous games on Sunday. Unfortunately, the best co-host in the country will not be here today. He is on the COVID reserve list. Get well, my brother, the Beard. He's going to be I imagine he'll pop up in the chat, talk a little smack here, but we're going to do a Giant Overreaction. Instead, I had this show prepared and in the bag, ready to go on Monday. Last minute, I was kind of like, I don't know if I really want to bring up these topics. But with the Beard missing today, we'll go over some overreactions in the Giants community. Once again, get well, my brother, man. Gonna need you for the rest of this show for sure. Now, let's get into this Eagles-Giants game here. Another unpleasant journey down the New Jersey Turnpike has left the Giants right where they were a week ago. Uncertain who their quarterback will be when they take the field next. The issue remains unresolved because neither Jake Fromm nor Mike Glennon distinguished himself in a 34-10 loss Sunday to the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. The Giants lost their 4th consecutive game to fall to 4-11 and were officially eliminated from playoff contention. The Philadelphia Eagles improved to 8-7, and the Giants will face the Bears in Chicago before ending their season at home against the Washington football team in Week 18. We might not know the identity of the quarterback until the Giants step on the grass in Soldier Field. Joe Judge was asked about that in his press conference, and he said, "We'll decide based on how they practice. We'll see how these guys do," which to me is just another ridiculous asterisk next to the name of Joe Judge here on the 2021 season. You should know what these players have before, having to go into practice the week of facing the Chicago Bears. Is really ridiculous. And when we saw Jake Fromm take the field on Sunday, I think it was even more relevant that, or more obvious that he's not the guy moving forward. And maybe we should owe apologies not only to Daniel Jones, but possibly to Mike Glennon, because both those quarterbacks showed you that Jake Fromm is not a NFL quality quarterback at the moment. And I just think it's a bit ridiculous that the coaches seem to not know that going into a week against the Chicago Bears. I'm not looking forward to these last 2 games of the season. It just seems like, more piling on, more mess in the New York Giants organization. For those of y'all that don't know how we do over here on the Giant Overreaction, this is the Week 16 edition. We bring to light comments on Twitter or YouTube or anywhere on the internet for that matter. And if you do indeed agree that the comment is an overreaction, I'll need to see a O in the chat. If you don't think it's an overreaction and you agree with the statement on the screen, we'll need you to put a U in the chat. That means you're going to take the under. We kind of play an over-under kind of situation here on the Giant Overreaction. And if you need a little bit of more time to think about it, then you can put the hand emoji in the chat, or you can put a P in the chat for push, meaning that you'll need just a little bit more time, maybe till next week. We're running out of time here for the New York Giants, man. We only got 2 weeks left. This season has flown by, man. It feels like it was just draft time, and me and the Beard were prepping and trying to get things ready for Awthentik and the Beard for the season of 2021. And now this season has come and gone. It's just flown by. It's flown by so fast. And I got to send a big shout out to everybody out there who's been showing support from day one. And before we get started, let me just reach out to the chat one time, give a couple of shout outs to my day ones. Sunday has been missing for a couple of weeks here. We haven't seen it in the chat. I hope everything's well. Last I'd heard, I think it was Marjorie who said Sunday was sick. You know, so hopefully she's doing well, and you know, we'll see her back in the Giants community fairly soon here. We definitely miss you, and we need you in this community. You know what it is. Shout out to the homie Wild and Plug in the building one time. I haven't seen you here in a bit, man. Good to see you in the building one time. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets in the building. Says speedy and full recovery for the beard. Yes, sir. Y'all know what it is. Another day one over here with no Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Appreciate you pulling up. Sebastian in the building, man. Sock Passe Mon Cher. How you doing? He says, what's up, Awthentik? I like that. I like that. I like that little play on words there, man. Salute to you, fam. My homie Ash Money is in the building. You know, I'm loving this new show name that Ash Money got with the Get Back, but I don't know if we got to go with the full government, Ash. I got a rule over here with me. It's like this. If I met you with a certain name, like my homie G Money, shout out to one of my producer homies, G Money. He changed his name midway through his career to G the Mastermind. Until this day, I still call him G Money. So with Ash, I'm going to be calling Ash Money till that casket dips. But shout out to Ash Money one time in the building. Make sure y'all go subscribe to him, man. He's got a new show he's been working on called The Get Back. I like that tweet I saw you post this morning. I forget exactly what it said, but it pretty much said something about you being highly favored and it's about to be your year. I agree with you on that 1,000%. Shout out Stan Albert in the building one time. Haitian OG, what up, man? Good to see you in the building, man. I ain't get no nuggets in my DM. Maybe I got a couple. You did send me a couple right after the game. And I know you didn't expect this giant overreaction to pop up, but what's popping with you, bro? Good to see you in the building. Who else in the building? Yo, what's good is in the building with the biceps. Let's get some biceps early in the chat before we get this show popping. Let's get some biceps early in the chat for the strong side missing today on the show. My homie the Beard's got to get well. If you missed the intro, he came down with the COVID bug, and we're definitely going to need to see the Beard get well, man. So let's see some biceps in the chat early for the homie. Shout out to Yo, what's good in the building. My man NCW in the building. Let me make this a little bit larger so I can see what he says here. He says, the embarrassment I had to endure walking out of the stadium, I wish to nobody. I left after the pick six. Man, that was a tough game to be at, man. I'm sorry that had to go down like that. I kind of knew that that's how it was going to go. We'll get into it, but Philadelphia kind of gave the Giants a little bit of some chances there, I feel like, early on in that game, too. And the Giants squandered some opportunities, and, you know, same old story, same old Giants. Nothing has changed. I definitely don't wish that upon nobody, man. Unfortunately, Nick DeWitt had to be at that game. And I hope you having a speedy recovery, too, Nick DeWitt, with the shoulder injury as well, man. Good to see you in the building. You know what it is, man. Giants Nation in the building. Lucas is in the building one time. Shout out my man Lucas. He says, punching yourself in the nuts for 5 minutes straight is less painful than watching them Giants. I know that's right. I know that's right. Good to see you in the building, fam. And the Beard is definitely in the building here. He's under the Awthentik and the Beard account here. Left side, strong side. Thanks for all the kind messages, everyone. Hope to be back by the end of the week. Shout out to the Awthentik and the Beard family. Y'all know what it is, man. Just talk to the Beard. Appreciate you setting up the stream for me, getting things right, even though, you know, your health is not at 100%. Hope you get well, my brother. We gonna need you. You know how it is. Rambling with Rio in the building. What's up, fam? Says what's good, Awthentik. Both our squads already feet up into the offseason. I know that's facts. I think y'all still got a 1% chance, but I know Rambling with Rio is not banking on that. Y'all make sure to go subscribe to Rambling with Rio. He does Washington football team content and top quality, man. High-notch stuff over there, man. I saw him last stream. I really got to tune into was the one with it was a split stream with Mark Holmes. That was a really good one. And I popped in on your last one here this past week. I think we kind of were both right on Taylor Heineke. You know, it's not so good. You know, the bad's not so bad, but he's somewhere in that average ballpark. It's going to be hard to see him be a starter in this league, man, the way he's been playing. And I told the Beard like this. I've been saying this on the last couple of episodes. You either have a franchise quarterback or you have a quarterback who needs a running game, a tremendous running game. I don't think that there is no thin line between that. You know, you have to have one or the other. And matter of fact, you know, I don't mean to say a thin line. There's no gray area between that. You know, I think that you're either a quarterback who's going to have to rely on a running game in the NFL, or you're going to have to be that franchise guy. And sometimes even those franchise guys are going to take those falls. You know, that's how it goes. We saw that happen with the Chargers and Justin Herbert this past week to a team that a lot of people wrote off for sure. I mean, they aren't looking that great, but they are impressive as far as being 4-11 for the Texans. I think that's pretty impressive considering that, you know, no one thought that they were going to even win a game. But shout out to Rambling with Rio in the building one time. We appreciate you pulling up. Let me see if there's anybody else that I didn't get one time here. Tommy's in the building one time. Appreciate you pulling up. Tommy Bernhardt in the building one time. He said, I told the beard, stop eating that 7-Eleven. And for those that don't know, that's how the beard says 7-Eleven. Yeah, man, that's 7-Eleven. All that packaging and stuff. I just had to make a trip to the grocery store, man, and I had on the latex gloves, the mask. I'm trying to prevent catching this COVID at all costs, man. You know, health is definitely the most important thing we have in this world, man. I'm trying to take care of that for sure, man. Shout out to Tommy though in the building. JJ Stangle is in the building one time. Shout out to you, man. Everything is good on my end except the best co-host in the country is not going to be with us today. He's got struck with the COVID bug, so I'm here solo doing a giant overreaction. Joby's in the building. He said, we are at the bottom. Only one direction to go, boys. You know, that kind of talks to the title of this stream today. And the beard was asking me, he said, what you want to title the show? And it just came right to me. I was like, from bad to worse. And that's exactly what's happening with the New York Giants. I thought it couldn't get no worse. You know, you're looking at a guy like Jake Fromm coming off the bench. You think, yeah, maybe be able to give us a spark. That did not happen on Sunday for the New York Giants, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping the only way is up from here, man. Shout out to you, Joby, for being in the building one time. Super Taj World in the building, man. Salute to you. I'm digging the profile pic. I think you made a little bit of a switch right there. I like that right there. Everything's good on my side, bro. Pop Barrios in the building. I'm just here for the weekly team beatdown. You know what it is, man. I'm going to try to lift y'all spirits up, man. You know, therapist Dr. Awthentik is in the building, man. You know, we going to chop it up. We're going to try to break down this L. We're going to talk about a couple overreactions, see if they are indeed overreactions, and we'll see how that goes. Blue City Empire Sports is in the building one time. He said Adam Schefter said that the New York Giants are interested in hiring John Dorsey as the new GM for the New York Giants. I did hear about that. That's funny. Ian Rappaport just tweeted something, too. I did hear about that with John Dorsey. You know, for me, man, I'm more of a fan, and I'm not a casual fan by no means. But when it comes to the GM search, I just hope they can get the best guy because I'm clearly not qualified to try to bring in or try to even suggest who the Giants should bring in at GM. We just hope that it's better than what happened here with Dave Gettleman. And one little benefit of the doubt I will give Dave Gettleman is when he was making all these offseason moves, Giants Nation didn't have too many big problems with it. When we brought in Kenny Galladay, when we drafted Kadarius Toney, I think people were a little bit split on the Kadarius Toney draft, but we're happy that we were able to gain some draft stock in trading back, and people thought that was a good move. People have looked at the first-round picks from Dave Gettleman, you know, and thought they were decent moves, and then now, in hindsight, you got people ragging on Gettleman, you know, myself included. I mean, he has not done a good job, but I will give him the benefit of the doubt that when he was bringing in this talent, I didn't look at it like, you know, he's bringing in awful talent. I was one of the people that for surely wanted Kenny Galladay in the offseason, and I for surely wanted Devonta Smith as a wide receiver with the 11th pick. And when we traded back and we ended up getting Kadarius Toney and an extra pick, I was all good with that. You look at it now, they for surely forgot to address the offensive line. That was something I had a problem with. And they spent a lot of money on this defense as well and on this offense trying to upgrade the weapon situation. Blake Martinez goes down. You know, James Bradbury has a setback, and maybe this is why James Bradbury was even available when we did bring in James Bradbury. Guys like Logan Ryan have had setbacks as well. The only one bright spot on the defense, maybe two, has I'll give you a couple bright spots on the defense, actually. There's more than a couple. There's a few. You got Azeez Ojulari, who's been playing some pretty decent football. You got Xavier McKinney at the safety position, who's fourth in the NFL in interceptions. He's got 5 on the year. That's pretty decent. And what's my man? Tay Crowder has been playing pretty well. You know, he's leading Giants in tackles. He's got over 105 tackles on the season. So, you know, there are some things. I know people looking at Leonard Williams like, you know, we need a little bit more out of you as far as that $20 million contract. That has not yielded well for the New York Giants. But, I'm not going to give Dave Gettleman the pass or nothing like that. He definitely deserves to be fired. But people weren't screaming this loud. I can even remember, you know, during the season and the offseason, Mike Too Nice was one of the people on the internet and on YouTube who really spotted the Dave Gettleman woes very early on. And when he would be speaking about it, a lot of people were giving him a hard time about it, you know, saying that he was hammering a point that didn't need to be hammered so much. But turns out Mike Too Nice was actually right on that. Dave Gettleman has struggled. But my personal opinion on it was when he was making these, you know, off-season acquisitions and whatnot, or acquisitions, you know, it wasn't all that bad, but it just turned out probably as bad as it could possibly be for the New York Giants. But shout out to Blue City Empire Sports in the building one time. Jameson's in the building too. What's up, Jameson? Who else in the building? Jameson, you weren't first today, man. You know, you got to be on it, man. You got to be on it, Coach Jameson. And let me just see who else is in the building, make sure I didn't miss nobody. Mr. Mini Guy's in the building. What's up, fam? Good to see you in the building. Floyd Samuels is in the building. What's up, fam? Was definitely chopping up with Floyd on Twitter, I believe, a little couple days ago, actually. And I think we got everybody. 40 Luck and old man Rob in the building. Shout out to gang one time. What's up with y'all, man? All right. So for those of y'all that don't, Max Webster in the building. Can't forget my homie Max Webster. What's good, bro? Send me a DM, too, asking about the Giant Overreaction from last week. I always appreciate people that do that. They'll be looking out for the show, man. And I know, I don't look at this. A lot of people look at the content creation game like, I create the content for the viewer, but it's not necessarily that. For me, I find value in just documenting my opinions and my takes about the New York Giants so I could come back and look at it. And then the engagement in the chat is always fire, man. I like getting other people's opinions and whatnot and just chopping it up with y'all, man. So I missed y'all just as much as y'all missed me, for real, man. And Max, I appreciate you reaching out to my DM and checking on the show. So without further ado, I hope the beard's paying attention, man. That's how we got to make these intros, the beard. You see that? I'm right around 15 minutes, man. I'm trying to keep it snappy. I'm trying to fly through the shout-outs. You know what it is, man. But shout out to the beard, man. We're going to miss him today for sure. Hopefully we can get him back on Thursday. And if not, worse kind of worse, hopefully we get him back on Sunday for the parlay. Y'all make sure to tune in 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do the Parlay Fantasy Football Show every Sunday, man. That's a real fun time. And speaking of fantasy football, me and the beard just walked our way into a championship. And we did that draft live on this channel the first week of the football season, man. So shout out to y'all, everyone who was in the chat during that stream. Y'all definitely helped us out making some picks, man, some tough decisions. We were on the clock, and y'all definitely helped us out with that. So crossing my fingers we can win this championship. It'd be really good for us. Take care of these COVID bills for the beard and all that good stuff, man. So y'all know how that is. Definitely check us out on the parlay Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And for those of y'all new here, we got 34 already in the building. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, man. We got a goal. We're trying to hit that 5,000 mark before the end of the season. We're going to truck. We're going to try and get there, man. We're trucking. We're trying to get there. All right, so without further ado, let's get to this. So once again, for those of y'all that don't know, the Giant Overreaction is how it works. We're going to put up, I got 4 today. We're going to put up 4 statements on the screen. The first one is a super hot topic. I posted it on my Twitter, and a lot of people had a lot to say about this one. But the way it goes is when you see the statement on the screen, if you think that the statement on the screen is an overreaction, I'm going to need a O in the chat. And I got to make sure to keep my eyes on the chat here. We producing the show at the same time, doing a lot over here. So I'm going to try to keep my eyes on this, super chats, questions, all that stuff y'all got going. I want to make sure this is a very interactive show. But we're going to need to see a O in the chat if you think the statement on the screen is an overreaction. If you agree with the statement on the screen and you don't think it's an overreaction, then I'm going to need U's in the chat, the letter U for meaning you're taking the under. And if you need a little bit more time, let me see them hand emojis in the chat. And for my OGs, you could just put a P in the chat. I know you can't find them emojis on your emoji keyboard and whatnot. I know this is 2021. Things are getting a little complicated in the tech world and whatnot. So we'll take the P or we'll put the hand emoji up for the push. Those are your 3 options, no other options. And when you do put up your O or your hand or your U, explain why you think that. You can start by just putting the O, putting the U, and then eventually y'all know how I do. I'll get down to reading what y'all think. Why your reasonings are these statements on the screen are overreactions or are not. And let's get to it. This first one, I've never done this before with featuring somebody from national media on the show, but I thought this was a really solid take. Even if you don't agree with it or not, I thought it was just a very interesting take and it was a bold take. Let me not say a solid take. It was a bold take. And I'm going to put it on the screen, and I'm going to give you the audio on this one. Because it's a bit of an extended statement that I want y'all to see. But on FS1, Nick Wright was on FS1, First Things First, and he talked about the state of the New York Giants. And the gist of it was pretty much this. If the Giants retain Joe Judge, they are not a serious franchise. Now, let me get that audio up for y'all so y'all can take a listen.
The Mara family and the Giants, the New York Football Giants. If they retain Joe Judge, they are not a serious franchise, flatly. If as ownership, for whomever comes in as your GM, a prerequisite that you have to keep this underqualified former special teams coordinator who has shown us nothing at this level. His special teams ain't even that good, but he's still hanging his hat on it. Buddy, you got a special teams job waiting for you in New England. But if you make your new GM, keep him, much less Daniel Jones, you're not a serious organization. And you shouldn't be discussed as one.
All right, so that is what Nick Wright had to say about the state of the New York Giants. And, let's see what y'all talking first. I kind of got my thoughts gathered on this one, but let's see what y'all talking. Is that an overreaction that if the Giants retain Joe Judge, you notice there he slipped in, let alone Daniel Jones as well, they are not a serious franchise? Let's go to the chat. I'm going to run this track one time, give y'all a little bit of time to, get y'all submissions in, and let's see what the chat is talking about here one time. Shout out my homie David one time in the building, too. I see you, fam. So we got Lucas says he's taking the U. He agrees with the statement. Amazing Guy says, I don't take Nick Wright seriously. And he says that this is an overreaction. Our first overreaction. Yo, David says we need a O and a U emote or emoji. That is facts, and we're working on that. I talked to the Beard about that last week. We're working on the membership for sure, so we will have some left side, strong side emojis. We're going to have some over-under emojis and all that. Some push emojis. We'll definitely have that in the mix. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, David. Kyle says he's taking the U. This is not an overreaction from Nick Wright from FS1. Mr. Mini Guy, same stance on it. He takes the U. Floyd Samuels takes the U. He says Judge gives us 0 advantages in the 2 years he's been here. That's a really good point. And the New York Giants right now are sitting on a 10-21 record with Joe Judge as the head coach. Lucas says he lies and loses. That's simple. That's another good point. Max Webster's a little bit long-winded here. Let's see what he says here. He says, this is an overreaction. Keeping Joe Judge might not be the right choice, but we're still like a top 5 winning NFL organization all the time. I believe that's supposed to be. One coach for 1 year won't define franchise history. Okay, that is a good point. I think Nick Wright was more speaking towards the current state of the franchise because, the New York Giants have done a lot in the past to prove that they are a serious franchise. I mean, you got the 2 Super Bowls in the past 2 decades, which we're right on the cusp of not getting one this decade. We need to get going for real. I think this might have been the last year for that. But also, the four chips in the Super Bowl era, I definitely, agree with you on that. The New York Giants franchise is a fantastic franchise as far as the history goes. But, I remember there was an episode on ESPN First Take where they had a guest. I don't want to butcher her name. I forgot her name. But she was on there with Molly Kiram, and they were talking about if the Giants is a destination franchise right now. And Molly Kiram was saying they were, but she was in disagreement saying that it's not a destination franchise at the moment because we've been losing for so long. You're talking 5 straight seasons of 10 losses or more. Giants have just been a pretty bad franchise for the recent history, but I definitely agree with you in the long run here. David's taking the U one time. He says he agrees with this statement on the screen. 40 Luck thinks it's an overreaction. He's riding with Joe Judge on this one. Let's see. Jameson Taylor takes the U on this one. Wyland Plug takes the U on this one. Amazing Guy says Joe Judge and Daniel Jones should get 1 more year to prove themselves. People were saying this last year. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. Mac, the Giants fan, says it's an overreaction. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, I'm guessing this is a U right here. I'm trying to read through the bars right here. My man Ash Money give me, but I'm guessing that's a U. My man PJ Torres in the building. What's good, fam? Something about Nick Wright's voice. Yeah, Nick Wright. He rubs people the wrong way. Not a lot of people get down with Nick Wright. I'll tell you my stance on Nick Wright. When he first came into the game and he was like a co-analyst, I really liked Nick Wright. I thought he had some really good takes. You could tell that he's a guy who studies the game for sure. And I feel like the more that his celebrity has risen, the worse his takes have gotten. And I think his likability is kind of going away because you can't be on camera too long without people really seeing who you really are. Like, I can speak to that. The first season of Awthentik and the Beard, we were recording and editing our podcast. So there are things that you can hide about yourself, your true feelings, the real you in a way. But when you go live, I've been going live now 4 days a week for the whole football season. This is what you're going to get. Most of the people who tune in on a daily basis or even a weekly basis to Awthentik and the Beard, they have a good gauge of who we are, the personalities that we are, the characters that we are, the strong stances that I might have, the rants, the vibes I give, and all that. And I think with Nick Wright, that's happened to him. The more that he's been on TV and the more national stardom that he receives, you almost get more people that don't like you at the same time. And I tell you this too, like for anybody who's doing anything positive, and I don't know if you can call what Nick Wright does positive, but he's committed to his work. You bound to have haters. That's just what it is. If you committed to your work and you get some notoriety, you're bound to have some people that don't like you, and you're bound to have some people that like you. I mean, I've seen it with athletes, celebrities on TV, people who have TV shows, reality, whatever it may be, even news anchors, people on CNN, Fox News, whatever it may be. Some people gonna love them, some people gonna hate them. And one thing I will say about Nick Wright is I think he does a really good job. Whether I agree with his takes or not, I think he does a really good job of being an analyst on TV, which is it's not easy. Like, I used to think that you could just come up here and just wing it when you're doing a podcast and, just say your opinions and say your thoughts. But there is a lot of research that goes into this, and that's just for somebody who does a podcast on YouTube. So for somebody like Nick Wright that's got to get up 6 a.m. in the morning, show up, present themselves, be presentable on TV, speak articulate and all those things. I give him his props, but I do understand why a lot of people don't get down with Nick Wright for sure. Shout out Dom Dizzy one time, or Dom Dizzy in the building one time. He says this is he's taking the under on this one and is not an overreaction. David also takes the under, and I don't like Nick Wright at all. A lot of people, when I posted this on Twitter, the clip, it went pretty viral. I mean, it had over 600 likes or something on it like that. A lot of people had a lot to say about it, and a lot of people said this right here, I agree with him on this one, and I normally don't agree with him. So shout out to you, Dave, one time. He's taking the under one time. Let me just make sure I didn't miss any others. Mike K is in the building. What's up, Mike? He says he's taking under, can't have a new GM and then pick his coach, especially a guy that isn't proven. And yeah, I was skeptical about that when we hired Joe Judge, but I'm always one that like to trust the professionals. I looked at the Giants as a professional organization. They've steered me wrong, obviously, before, but I thought, they had this under wraps and they had this under control. And if you're going to bring in a guy that's unproven, you would think that there's something else that he's proving to the organization of why he gets the job. I don't know if Joe Judge was a fast, slick talker, and that's how he got the job and nailed the interview and whatnot. But it looks to be that the Giants have missed on Joe Judge for sure. Let me see who else is in here. Ashton Money says, I called you Ashton Money. You see how I flipped that right there? He says he's right. Judge hasn't shown a damn thing. There's decisions coaches make that don't require talent. Yeah, that's true. And even with the talent, the Giants haven't been developing talent, which is the one thing I'm worried about. You see a lot of teams across the league, being able to excel with backups and next man up mentality actually working. And here in New York, it's just not working. It's kind of strange to me. Perry Mack says Nick Wright is an undercover Cowboys fan. That's what's up. Old man Rob says this is an overreaction. Mr. Mini Guy says, as Chris said, you're forcing Judge on the new GM, limiting the choice for the new GM. Yeah, it's very true. Not a lot of people are going to want to take a job where you're forcing the coach on them and the quarterback is what it seems to be. The sketchy part about all this is that Mara has not came out and backed the decision that you're hearing about in media right now about the Giants committing to Joe Judge and Daniel Jones for the 2022 season. You would think that, if that was his real decision, that he would be out in front of the cameras. But I don't know, man. We really have not seen Mara present himself in front of the media really since the Eli Manning ceremony that they had at halftime where he got booed or whatever. And you really haven't seen him much this year, or Dave Gettleman for that matter. So I don't know. We did go out there and we signed Jalen Smith, and I'm like, whose decision was that? If Dave Gettleman is on his way out the door, whose decision was that? I'm very skeptical about that. So definitely in agreement with you on this one, Mr. Mini Guy. Shout out Roy Williams in the building one time. He says, all NFL trees don't have good apples. I got the under. And if you don't know what he's saying right here, he's talking about the Bill Belichick tree for sure because, Bill Belichick one, if not the best coach in the history of the NFL. And not many coaches from his coaching tree have been doing well. You got Brian Flores in Miami now being the only team to have lost 7 games straight, have a 7-game losing streak, but then also have a 7-game winning streak in NFL history. When they had the 6-game winning streak, them and the New York Giants were the only teams who have ever done it. I can't remember which Giants team it was. I want to say it was 1994, possibly with the New York Giants. But Flores is doing a pretty good job. That's really the only good apple that's fell off that Bill Belichick tree. Not many other apples have fallen in the direction of winning. I think there was the one player who had some success coaching, and that's about it. 40 Luck takes the O. He said we should build a line for Daniel, get a edge rusher, and see where we go from there. I mean, I think that could be a pretty decent plan, 40. To me, it's sketchy because last year people weren't talking about rebuilding the offensive line, even though it was one of the problems, right? And people did know that we needed some help, but it wasn't. No one was looking at the offensive line last year going, "Oh my God, we need a total revamp and rebuild." We knew we were going to have to make some upgrades for sure. But the thing that people were saying last year was Daniel Jones doesn't have the weapons, and I'm one of them. I was really saying that. I'm like, Daniel Jones is one of the only quarterbacks in the league who doesn't have a true number one wide receiver, and every quarterback in the league who has excelled in the past 5 years has had a number one wide receiver on their team. We got him the number one wide receiver, and now still struggle mode. So I don't know if we can. It's almost like I'm out of outs now for Daniel Jones, and literally this is the last out. If you build an offensive line around this kid and he still struggles and Joe Judge still struggles to have an offense that scores points, you can't forget the offensive coordinator thing too, because that's going to be another big point that the Giants are going to have to address going into next season as well too. I don't think we can use another offensive coordinator as an excuse for Daniel Jones, and if the offensive line gets fixed, we really can't use that. And I think, if you give him one more season, it's got to be the last season. If he doesn't really put up grown man numbers, then you got to get rid of him. I'm a little bit like I'm 50-50 on bringing Daniel Jones back. He has shown that he can do some things well. He's played some average ball throughout the year, but there's never been that back-to-back moment where you're like, yo, this kid is really striding. As bad as he was playing last season, when he went into this season and he had the first 3 games where he was over a 90 passer rating, I was all happy about it. But then throughout the year, I've dug more into the passer rating, man, and, you can have a bad game. I forget who it was. They had 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and still had a passer rating right around 100. I can't remember who it was this past week. But passer rating is a statistic that is so skewed, and I'm almost embarrassed that I was, using that as a meter to try to raise the bar for my quarterback. And I am one of those people that was in that group of the Daniel Jones supporters who was trying to lower the bar to raise Daniel Jones stock. But I mean, you got to look at it for what it is. Think about it on a very childish level, right? If you show a kid Daniel Jones highlights throughout his whole career, there's not really many highlights. You don't see him slinging the football around. You see a couple of basic fade routes that, went down the field for some yards. You see a couple of decent runs. That's about it. Even that catch that he had that all the Giants fans were going crazy about, calling him, what was it? They were doing some play on OBJ, like ODJ or something like that. I don't want to see my quarterback out there catching 10-yard passes one-handed getting smacked in the helmet. I just don't want to see that, and it's not a highlight for me. And especially in this season, there's nothing that you can hang your hat on as far as what Daniel Jones did. The statistics, I believe, is 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, that's just not going to get it done. And, people were calling for Freddie Kitchens to come out here and call the plays. You got that, and it looks even worse. But now he didn't get to call a lot of these plays with Daniel Jones at quarterback, but Freddie Kitchens, I think there's a reason why the Cleveland Browns got rid of him. And, maybe he's just stick to, what he's good at, which seems to be what he was doing with the offensive line and just being an assistant to the offense rather than being a coordinator. Because he struggled, man. You got Jake Fromm in at quarterback, and you decide to go drop back and pass, 5-step dropbacks, 7-step dropbacks with Jake Fromm when you don't got an offensive line and this kid has a noodle arm. You watch it in practice every week. And still you go out there and you're not dialing up a game plan that's going to put your players in the best position at all. And, Fromm is more of a, he's a short stature quarterback. So I think he's at a disadvantage in comparison to Mike Glennon. When you're dealing with a bad offensive line, Mike Glennon is going to be able to see things a little bit faster, I feel like, than Jake Fromm. And you can't forget, Jake Fromm's only been here for a couple of weeks, man. This kid's just getting the offense under his belt. Anybody who's ever played football or even think about just studying for a test in school, like how prepared and how ready you got to be. These quarterbacks not only got to know their job, they got to know everybody else's job on the field. And I think it was a little bit of smoke and mirrors, and Giants fans got a little bit happy, seeing Jake Fromm get out there and do some things on that last drive in the 2-minute drill. He looked like he he played the role like a TV quarterback, and he looked like he was acting like the role. But in reality, he really isn't a NFL quarterback. It seems like at this point, I do wish him the best of luck. But when you go 6 of 17 for 25 yards, one interception, one fumble, the dude's total QBR was 4.9. That's not going to get it done. And I'll use this as a bit of a rant to talk about some stats from that game against the Eagles too. Mike Glenn is 17 of 27 for 93 yards, one touchdown, one interception. Fromm's QBR 4.9. Mike Glenn is QBR 26.6. You never got the running game going. Saquon Barkley 15 carries for 32 yards. He was our leading rusher, a long of 7 yards. I mean, it's god awful. And the fact that the Giants didn't recognize that Devontae Booker is probably the more effective running back to go against this Eagles defense is just ridiculous. He had 6 carries for 27 yards. I mean, the average yards per carry is just, doubling Saquon Barkley at least there. Kadarius Toney, the one thing I will say is they targeted our weapons. Kadarius Toney had 9 targets. Kenny Golladay had 8 targets. Toney had 28 yards on the day on 4 receptions. Kenny Golladay had 3 receptions for 22 yards. Evan Ingram caught 4 receptions for 5 targets for 1 touchdown, which damn near almost messed up some stuff on my fantasy. I'm not gonna lie. I was playing against them. Didn't like that. But as far as how I'm gonna go, to me, I'm taking the under on this one. I'm in 3,000% agreement with Nick Wright on this. I really think that it doesn't show that you're serious. I don't know if it's a serious franchise, but it shows that they're not serious at the moment, and you're willing to, pretty much waste another year. And then what do you do at GM? Because from what I'm hearing around, the Twitters and the internet and the YouTubes, people are saying that Kevin Abrams is not the guy that the Giants are looking to hire at GM, and it's a long shot that he's going to be hired at GM. So you're going to bring in a new GM from another organization or outside of the New York Giants to come in here and try to handle these problems with Joe Judge at quarterback. Joe Judge at quarterback, with Daniel Jones at quarterback, and Joe Judge as your head coach. I think it's just more of what we already have. Can we just clean house, keep the players from this roster that are valuable moving forward, and just start it over? You tried to rebuild and tried to win at the same time, and it didn't work. And I think because of what's happening with this team and the lack of how they've been coached up, it makes players like Saquon Barkley look like a lot worse, to be honest. I'm one that from day one has talked about Saquon Barkley being used like Alvin Kamara is used with the New Orleans Saints. Stop trying to make this guy a every down running back. Everyone argued with me about this in the offseason, and I said, especially coming back off the ACL injury, Saquon Barkley should be getting about 15 touches a game. Just maximize them. Make sure that they're the right kind of touches. Instead, they want to make him the every down back, workhorse running back. And to me, that's just not the way to do it. It reminds me eerily of what happened with Reggie Bush. And Reggie Bush, one of the most talented running backs coming out of college in the history of football. And it seems that both teams kind of botched his career a little bit, Detroit especially, just by trying to make him an every down running back. These guys aren't meant to run between the tackles, so I feel for guys like Saquon Barkley, and I feel for guys like Daniel Jones, because both of them might have been drafted a little bit higher than they should have been. Everyone always says, you don't take a running back at number 2. You don't take a running back in the first round. Pittsburgh Steelers just did it this year. They took Najee Harris in the first round, and it seems to be kind of working out for them. And I think that's what the Giants organization thought was going to happen with Saquon Barkley, is that it would keep an aging quarterback alive to give the Giants a shot. And that's all the Giants needed during that time with Eli Manning. We know how Eli Manning does. You get him in the playoffs, and then clutch Eli Manning comes out, and all you needed was a chance to get into the playoffs. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out. I believe the Giants were 5-11 that season. You had Odell Beckham here in 2018. And it just didn't work out. But I don't think it really takes away much from Saquon Barkley, except for the fact that maybe if you want to label him as injury prone, then yeah, that's a thing. But I think you just got to just clean this up. You got to get rid of this coach. He's showing you week in and week out that he's his football IQ seems to be a little bit low for a head coach. His time management seems to be terrible for a head coach. Seems to be dated, if I could say that, and I'm just not high on Joe Judge. I'm not one to be talking about firing people during the season, or especially during the holidays right now. You're going into a new year, and I'm not one to be talking about firing, but for me, it just feels like Joe Judge is not the guy moving forward in New York. So I got to totally agree with Nick Wright on that. I mean, I think that I think he's 100% right on that. Maybe, okay, I'll say 99% right. Maybe the one part he says is, about the serious franchise might not be completely correct, but it shows that the Giants aren't serious moving forward. And also the way that they're allowing Dave Gettleman to leave the building and kind of resign when it's been nothing but terrible here. It's just a very interesting approach, and I think the Mariners need to kind of back off, hire that GM to just come in and really handle it for you, man. It's like just because you came up and you own the franchise, the New York Giants, it does not mean you got to be all invested in looking over people's shoulders. It kind of reminds me of Suge Knight at the Source Awards when he was like, you don't want a record executive all in the videos, all on the forefront and whatnot, then come to Death Row. Because he was the kind of guy that allowed the producers and the artists to do what they did on Death Row. He wasn't trying to get in the mix of all the music and be all over the tracks doing ad-libs, and that was a shot at Diddy. Now, I think that the Mayer family could take a little bit of advice from Suge Knight. I know that sounds crazy because he is in prison right now. Shout out to $1 million worth of game. He called in and he was on their podcast just recently with Wallow and Gilly the Kid. They got a really good hip hop podcast over there. But I do think that it speaks volumes to what's happening with the New York Giants situation. It's like, stop being all in the mix. You don't want to be over the guy's shoulders when they flipping the fries. Hire somebody who can manage these infrastructures from a macro position and from a wide angle position. See down the line where the Giants need to be. Start building this roster. You look at the Cincinnati Bengals, man, they're a good, really good example of it. And everybody who's saying, oh, you build from the trenches and you got to have the Hogs, you really don't. These guys went out there and spent their first-round pick on a wide receiver in Jamar Chase, and now they're the first team to have a 1,000-yard rusher, a 1,000-yard receiver, and a 1,000-yard quarterback. It might be 2,000-yard receivers out there. Under 25 years old. And they're right now making a push towards the playoffs, looking like they're a team to be reckoned with right now. So, I'm never one to say this is the way to build the team. I try to give myself as many outs, and 3 years on YouTube, I'm realizing that. Like, you got to give yourself some outs, man. You just can't, you can't say this is the way. So, last couple of shows, I've been talking about ways to bring in Russell Wilson. If that can work, it can work. I look at it like if you bring in Russell Wilson over Daniel Jones, it's an upgrade. I don't care what you give away for it. It's an upgrade. The Rams have built their team very similar through not having any first-round draft picks, trading their first-round draft picks every year if possible, and look at them right now. They have a better cap situation than the New York Giants entering the 2022 season, which is ridiculous, and their record is much better than the New York Giants. They're making a playoff push right now, and I'm actually hoping that the Rams can go really deep into the playoffs and maybe make a Super Bowl push here, man, because if you know me and you've been following Awthentik in the Beard, I'm a major Odell Beckham supporter. That trade really was the start of the whole, problems for me with Dave Gettleman. You don't sign a guy $90 million like that and let him go, especially when you already had a struggling team and a struggling offense. And you trade away your best and possibly your only true weapon at that time, Well, I'll give you Saquon Barkley at the time coming off the 2018 season. He had the 90-plus catches, 1,000 yards on the ground. It was a really good year for him. But other than that, you're looking at thrusting in a guy like Saquon Barkley now to become the true leader because the quarterback that you drafted in 2019 is not a leader. He's a quiet guy. And I think that, Eli Manning got away with doing that. He was a quiet guy too, but he was an anomaly. He was an exception to the rule. Whereas Daniel Jones, I even see the Fromm in the huddle, and he just looks like he's got it more, in control, I feel like. He's the kind of guy that's going to hold the other players accountable, and he's not even at best, a second-string quarterback in this league. So it's just kind of ridiculous to me when you're thinking about building your team. There's a famous quote. I can't remember which coach it was from, but it's from one of the OG coaches from like the 70s, Landry or somebody like that, where they were saying when you build a team, you got to build it with a couple of OGs, some veterans. You got to get a couple of them young boys that are talented, but they don't know their way around the league. And you need them leaders. You need those guys that's going to put people in position. I think Logan Ryan is a leader, and I think his leadership might have got him a contract because his play on the field has not been that great. But outside of that, it's not many leaders on this football team. And you're building a team that doesn't have leaders. Everyone loves it when the quarterback is the leader because at the end of the day, the quarterback is going to get most of the blame. So when you see people out here blaming Daniel Jones, don't be mad at it because when you play quarterback, when you pick to be a quarterback, all the way back to Pee Wee, You're saying that I want the responsibility. When the team loses, it's going to be on you. When you can't throw the ball in the end zone and you can't put up points on the board and complete passes and extend drives and get first downs, it's definitely going to be on you. And when you sign up to play the quarterback position, that's exactly what you're signing up for. So that's just what it is, you know. So when you see people bashing Daniel Jones, don't be out here trying to be Captain Saver, Daniel. You know, let them speak how they want to speak on Daniel Jones and let them have their opinion about it, because that's what he signed up for. You know, he didn't sign up to be the number 6 pick and be thrusted into being a starter this early in his career. But we're talking 3 years now at the helm. You know, it's time to get it together. It's time to get it together. 3 years of injuries and very lackluster, average football. And that's being generous. You know, somebody commented on one of our videos the other day, and they said, Awthentik, every time you say Daniel Jones is average, I cringe. And I thought he was going to say because he thought Daniel Jones was some world-class quarterback. But he said, I cringe because he's not average. He is very garbage. And I won't go out there and say Daniel Jones is garbage because he's on a garbage team. And it's hard to look like a good player on a garbage team. You know, I will give him that benefit of the doubt. And he has not been put in the best position, that's for sure. But as the quarterback, he deserves blame. I don't care what nobody says. He deserves blame. There's no way you can look at Daniel Jones and go, oh, my God, this is fantastic football play. So with that said, seems like a lot of people took the U on that last reaction there. Not a lot of overreactions. Maybe a handful of overreactions. Let me just scroll the chat real quick, see what we got here one time before we move on to the next statement on the screen here. Ooh, this one's interesting. Hold up. 40 Luck said, bring back McAdoo as an offensive coordinator / assistant coach. Imagine McAdoo's scheme with Kadarius Toney, especially that he came from the Andy Reid tree. I mean, look, man, I am one that thinks that Ben McAdoo was fired very, very premature. He was 13-15 before being fired, and you can't forget that he was 10-6 in his first season. And then they were 2-10, I believe, when he got fired. So maybe he was 11-6. Somebody in the chat maybe correct me on that. If he was 11-5 that boat season, 2016, or if he was 10-6, I can't remember. But you know, because I want to say he was 2-10 when he was fired after they benched Eli Manning that year. But you can't forget about the injuries, obviously. But that kind of brings me to this next one. Let's go into this next one here, and I'm gonna rearrange these a little bit. I saw this one on Twitter. The last one was from YouTube for sure and from FS1. I seen this one on Twitter. And shout out 40 Luck one time in the building. That's a great point you bring up there. And let me get that off. Okay, so this next one comes from @WillPresty, who has a good balance of humor and some good takes on Twitter, man. I'm definitely digging his channel. He had some cool viral videos early on in the year, which prompted me to follow him. So shout out to Will Presty. He says, this is the lowest point of my Giants fandom. Now, I know this might vary from, age to age for sure. You know, the younger folks don't remember some of the older years or weren't even around. You was probably still in your daddy's ball sack back in the day, waiting to come into the earth, waiting to come into this world. And some of y'all are, you know, as old of OGs that you go all the way back to the 70s with the New York Giants, which I'm an OG, but I'm not a triple OG. I don't go back as far as the 70s and those terrible years with the New York Giants before Bill Parcells got there. But what y'all think about this one? Y'all think this is an overreaction, that this is the lowest point of your Giants fandom? Let me know what y'all thinking in the chat and what teams maybe come to mind if you are going to take the O on this one. I kind of got my mind set on this one, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know where I reside when it comes to this one. I've been talking about this one all week. Let me see what we got here. Shout out my man Logan in the building one time. What's good, brother? Amazing Guy says Jones needs a West Coast offense. I kind of do agree with that. That's real. Everything is Gucci, Logan. Everything is Gucci. I'm so far back on the chats one time. Y'all are in here just popping. We got over 55 in the building one time. I appreciate y'all pulling up, man. I know everybody needs this Giants therapy just like I need this Giants therapy as well. Shout out to the homie Don Vito one time in the building. Can we just play without a quarterback? Can we do that? We might, man. You know, take us back to them old Miami Dolphins days when Ronnie Brown was running that Wildcat over there. Maybe that, you know, maybe we can reinvent the quarterback position. You know, guys like Lamar Jackson and guys like Jalen Hurts are definitely doing that these days, relying on the run. But maybe that's a vibe, man. We'll see, man. We'll see. Because right now, the quarterback in New York, it's just been terrible. It's really just been terrible. But shout out to you, Don Vito. Appreciate the super chat, man. Appreciate you being in the building too, my brother. What else we got here? Let me run that back one time too, because I gotta run through this chat a little bit. Amazing guy says, I still believe in Daniel Jones. That's a fact. Because I see Amazing guy always in my stream supporting Daniel Jones. Shout out to homie Miles Thiessen in the building one time for the $4.99 super chat. He says, I'll chill on the Judge slander until we find out who the OC is going to be. Maybe we get a guy who carries his load enough to have Judge down his neck. That's a little bit of a pause right there, Miles. But shout out to you one time. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that, man. You know, the right offensive coordinator in here, we know we need a mastermind on the offensive side of the ball. We know that, you know, and that would really help, you know, boost not only the confidence, but the play on the field of the New York Giants for sure, man. So I got to agree with you on this one. You know, I'm just like, I tried to make up the excuses last season for everything possible that I could for Joe Judge, man. And, you know, I just feel like I'm done with the excuses. I'm just like, I'm over it. You know, if you're going to fire Ben McAdoo with the record of 13-15, then to me, that just screams that Joe Judge should be fired. Now, granted, Pat Shurmur's record in his 2 seasons was worse than what Joe Judge is putting on the field right now. I think Pat Shurmur had like a 3-13 season and maybe a 4-11 or a 4-12 or 5-11 season. So Joe Judge has got Pat Shurmur beat out here. But people like the way that Daniel Jones was playing under Pat Shurmur better than they did under Joe Judge and Jason Garrett and the rest of this coaching staff for sure. Big Los is in the building. Shout out to you too, Miles. I appreciate that. With the $5 super chat. Shout out to homie Big Los. What up, fam? He says, sorry I'm late. What I miss? Oh, nothing, because it's still the same sorry team. I still bleed blue, though. You know what it is, man. We definitely going to bleed blue, man. I'm a New York Giants fan until that casket dips. Can't change teams. You might see me a little bit rooting for the Rams a little bit here and there with, man, Odell Beckham over there, but that's about it, man. And I root for good football, and the New York Giants have definitely not given us that, so I got to find good football elsewhere. But yeah, you know, I'm going to support the Giants until it's over. That's just what it is. I'm a Giants fan from the core. That's just how it is. That's what prompted me to even do content about this team, because I got a major love for the New York Giants. And, you know, the 2 Super Bowls really saved us, man. The 2 recent Super Bowls have really saved us because outside of those 2 Super Bowls, we've been awful. The Giants have been one of the worst franchises. And those Super Bowls, thank God for Eli Manning and the resilience of that defensive line to get after Tom Brady in 2 Super Bowls. And, you know, give us a little bit of bragging rights, you know, in this decade here with the New York Giants. But we're running out of time here, man. We gotta get some winning seasons here. And I know these younger fans is just fed up, man. But shout out to Big Los, bro. I really appreciate the $5 super chat and appreciate your presence in the building. Let's see. So this is the lowest point of my Giants fandom. And yes, Mr. Mini Guy confirmed it for me. McAdoo was 11-5 during the boat trip season in 2016. Don Vito also confirmed it. Shout out Omar, man. I think that's Omar that be tagging us in stats and stuff like that on Twitter. We definitely appreciate that. Chris Atwater's in the building too. Appreciate that, man. My man Gino 150 proof is in the building one time. He says, DJ is not good regardless of who is to blame for the Giants being trash. I mean, it's getting to the point where I'm running out of that whole, you know, Daniel Jones's average talk. I'm starting to almost lean over into where you at, Gino, for sure. I guess I'm going to either have to wait one more season or the Giants are going to have to bring in another quarterback, and then I can put that to rest. But as of right now, I will say, you know, there's not a great supporting cast around Daniel Jones, but there's no excuse for that, to be honest. You want to see flashes from a player that you invested in and you hoped was your franchise quarterback, you know, and that's not looking to be the case here. But shout out to Gino one time in the building, man. Giants Nation in the building. Y'all know what it is. So as far as this being the lowest point of Giants fandom, Max Webster takes the under one time. Ash Money takes the under one time. Don Vito takes the under one time. Lucas takes the under. Watched my first game in 1985, he said. This is the worst I've seen. Amazing guy takes the push. I like that. That's a smart one to take right there. You never know. Things could always get worse. Somebody said earlier that the only way is up from here, but you never know, man. You never know. The Giants do got 4 wins, and we could fall into that Cleveland Browns territory where they were at for about 20 seasons, man, where they saw new quarterback, new coach every other year, it seemed like, over there. So amazing guys taking the push. Yo, what's good says super under on this one time. Who else we got in the building here one time? Mac, the Giants fan. Shout out Mac, the Giants fan. Y'all make sure to go sub up to Mac, the Giants fan. He's building his channel over there. Great content. Also can see him on Big Pat's channel a couple of times a week, it seems like. Both of them putting out great content. Shout out to them. Mac, the Giants fan, says he's taking the under. Who else? Mike Wakefield. Shout out to Mike Wakefield in the building one time. Look at that profile pic. Fire, man. I see you with that window light. Got the silhouette. Got the Rembrandt vibes. Half on the face. I'm digging that, fam. He says, I'm 26. This is absolutely the lowest point of my Giants fandom. I feel you, man. David says he's taking the under. This is the first year I've questioned my fandom and considered switching teams. Don't switch teams, man. You got to be ride or die for, be loyal to your squad, man. We need you over here at Awthentik in the Beard. And, unless you're going to go root for the Washington football team, I'm going to need you here. I need your support on this channel for sure, fam. You know what it is. Let's see. Yo, Gino 150 proof said he benched Eli for a black quarterback and was fired for it. Yo, I've never heard somebody say that take right there. That's kind of hilarious. I like that. Could be facts too. You never know, man. I'm waiting for the Giants to bring in a mobile quarterback, and it just seems these days that the mobile quarterbacks, the African-American quarterbacks seem to be the more mobile ones these days. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets says this is an overreaction. You know what's wild about this take or this stance here from Will Presty is like, even if I disagree with it, I don't think it's an overreaction, if you know what I'm saying. It's like, I can understand why you would think this would be your lowest point, even if it's not your lowest point, but I feel you on this. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets. You probably have had some lower points than where we are at right now in the 2021 season. I feel you on that. Gino said, no, McAdoo wasn't good either, but at least we went to the playoffs off talent. That is facts. And I thought McAdoo was a decent offensive coordinator. It was the part that where he had to lead men in the locker room, I think, that he lacked. And when you get a good coach, it's that balance of, X's and O's, but also being a leader of men. I think Jason Garrett did a decent job of that when he was with Dallas. He's always had the talent over there. Dallas Cowboys have done a really fantastic job of bringing in talent like my whole entire life, it feels like. And I'm 38 years old, and I feel like they've just been bringing in talent since Michael Irvin to now. They always have great talent. I'm always skeptical when I see somebody get that number 88. When I saw Dez Bryant get that 88, I was like, maybe the Cowboys are, jumping the gun here on giving him the 88. And same thing with CeeDee Lamb, and they definitely hit on both those draft picks. So I don't know if Jason Garrett, how much talent that was, but he seemed to be a decent leader of men. I think the same thing with Mike McCarthy over there right now in Dallas, too. A lot of people don't like Mike McCarthy, and even some people thought Joe Judge was a better head coach selection than Mike McCarthy. But the one thing I think about Mike McCarthy is, not a lot of BS going to go down on his watch. Whether you think he's great with the X's and O's or not, he seems to be able to know how to develop a good coaching staff and build the infrastructure around a team to be able to win games. You look at the Green Bay Packers, when Mike McCarthy got over there, they had a losing record. I believe they were 8-8 the next season, somewhere around 500, and then the following year they're in the Super Bowl. So, he seems to know something about how to win games. I wouldn't call it necessarily pretty. He did have Aaron Rodgers over there at the quarterback position. He had Brett Favre over there, arguably two of the best quarterbacks in NFL history for sure. But I liked Mike McCarthy more than I liked Joe Judge going into this. And when you look at Matt Rule, who was also another candidate for the head coaching job, he's not looking too great over there in Carolina as well. So, I definitely think we messed up on the head coach for sure. But McAdoo could have made maybe a decent coordinator, I think, thrusted into the coaching job a little bit early. We had Steve Spagnuolo as an interim head coach, I believe, too, before McAdoo was hired, which is strange to me. I think he went to be the defensive coordinator for either the Rams or the Chiefs for a year or two, and then finally came back to New York. And I don't know why they didn't think Steve Spagnuolo was good enough to be a head coach, but, they go Ben McAdoo, works out for a year. Giants spent like $200 million in the offseason that year before McAdoo got over there, got us into the playoffs, and then it went downhill from there. But they didn't give him the pass. That's the one thing. When the Giants went 2-12 or whatever it was. I'm sorry, 2-10 before he got fired. They didn't give him a pass on the injuries. The Giants, they were in 2017 decimated with injuries. defensive side of the ball and on offense, y'all know with Odell Beckham, Brandon Marshall went down. You know, you had the benching of Eli Manning, but to me, that 2017 roster wasn't that bad. You know, they spent good money on it in entering 2016. And it started to fall apart a bit in 2017 with the injuries, but they didn't give McAdoo no excuses. They just straight fired him when he lost the locker room. Lost the locker room. I hate when people say that. Yo, it gets on my nerves. Like, you know, we don't know what's going on in the locker room. And by judging by the effort that the New York Giants put forth, especially in the second half against the Eagles, where, you know, they were outscored 17-0 in the third quarter, it doesn't look like Joe Judge still has that locker room. It almost looks like some of these players are just playing, you know, for their NFL future. It doesn't look like Joe Judge still has the locker room. But shout out to Gino 150 Proof one time. I think this might be your first time in the building. Anybody new in the building, hit that subscribe button if you you know, you need a therapist for your New York Giants woes. Dr. Awthentik is here for you, you know what I'm saying? And I won't be too harsh on you. You know, I'm gonna try to keep it cool so you leave the office and you feel good about yourself. You don't feel worse than when you came in, for sure. But shout out to the homie Gino 150 Proof in the building. Omar says, "You, not a fan, but I see how the real fans on YouTube feel with the med drink and Joe Judge checking the tape every loss with the medium drink." Yes, the medium Pepsi. That was awful. I don't know what they were thinking on that. They need some more. They need to hire some better people, not only in the front office as far as the football operations, but whoever came up with that idea to come up with a medium Pepsi for season ticket holders is ridiculous. You should have just saved your cups. Could have saved the ozone a little bit there. But definitely agree with you on that too, Omar. So it seems like, you know, most people taking the U here. 40 Luck took the U. Big Los said he meant this is an overreaction. He must have some lower points as a Giants fan one time. I'm just scrolling through here. Shout out to homie Ash Money in the building one time. Said Pat Shurmur was 9-23 as a head coach. Joe Judge is 4-20 with 2 games to go. I think that might be a little bit off. 10-20, I think Joe Judge right now. Joe Judge is 10-21 in the 2 seasons. But 420 maybe because he's smoking that good right now, the way he's been coaching the the New York Giants has been pathetic for sure. But shout out to homie Ash Money, man, with the $4.99 super chat. I appreciate you pulling up, man. Ash Money was on the Giant Overreaction the last time I did this, man. Appreciate you coming on to the show. Don Vito says, I'm 23, so it's my lowest point. Definitely agree with you on that. And, you know, just a lot of people want to compare it to the 2017 season and say the 2017 season was the worst. And some also wanted to say the Dan Reeves era from 93 to 96, when Dan Reeves, he inherited the team from Ray Handley, I believe, in 1992, came in as the 1993 head coach. The Giants were 6-10 in 1992. In 1993, we were 11-5 right off the bat. And then it just went downhill from there. You know, I remember Dan Reeves being a good coach. I don't remember even all the way down to him losing the job with the New York Giants. I just always remembered him being a good coach. He was 9-7 in 94 the following year, and then it just you know, kind of went to shits after that. 5-11 in 1995, and then 6-10 in 1996. But the NFC was very tough, you know, in those early to mid 1990s. 49ers, Cowboys teams come to mind. Washington was in struggle mode during those years. They finished in 5th in 1993 and in 1994. And if you're saying to yourself how they finished 5th, the Phoenix Cardinals were in the NFC East back then. And Washington football team finished in last place in 5th in 1993 and 1994. When I think about low moments for me, let me see here. Let me just make sure I didn't get I'm not missing any other super chats following. The chat's going bonkers. I like this. I like the comments here. Yeah, and Ash Money, yeah, they're getting you for that typo. For sure. I see that. Shout out Josh Warren in the building one time. For me, you know, I think about low moments, lowest points, not necessarily like just having a bad season. You know, for me, I think of moments too, you know, just like bad moments. And 2017 was a very low. I remember that game, I think it was week 5, week 6, when Odell Beckham broke the ankle and Brandon Marshall broke the ankle as well. And you had Dwayne Harris go out in that game. You had Sterling Shepard go out in that game. We were just losing players left and right. And it feels like that moment, just that moment was lower. But right now, as a total with the season, this season is the lowest point for me. 2014 was pretty bad for me too when Victor Cruz went out with the injury in October because I didn't know Odell Beckham was going to be the guy that he was going to be, and to see Victor Cruz on the ground, just in the most pain you've probably seen any player in my history of watching the New York Giants. Victor Cruz in the back of the end zone, just out of it. That was a really tough moment. The benching of Eli Manning in 2017 was definitely a tough moment, but like I said, I think that roster was a lot better. B.J. Goodson, Dalvin Tomlinson, JPP, Olivier Vernon, Janoris Jenkins, Landon Collins. Excuse me. That was a really good, roster as far as defense goes. Um, Eli Manning, Brandon Marshall, OBJ, it all looked good on paper that year. Orleans Darkwa was a tough running back. He kind of reminded me of Wayne Gallman. You had Sterling Shepard on that squad. The O-line was definitely bad too, maybe just as bad. Nah, I won't say just as bad. This offensive line is really bad. But Eric Flowers was at left tackle on that line. You had Justin Pugh, John Halapio playing guard, Brett Jones. Yeah, that 2017 team was a struggle, but I still don't think it was as bad as this one. We just had a lot of hope going into this season, and you spend all that money and you think the Giants are headed in the right direction. I can remember when they brought in Adoree Jackson, I'm like, man, that's just like excess in a way. I thought that bringing in Adoree Jackson was like, yeah, that's more to good. We got Kenny Galladay. We brought in Rudolph. And you want to think positive when you spend money in free agency. You want to think that these guys are going to, come and be assets to the football team, and that just has not been the case this year. Shout out to homie Lax Fo in the building. What's up, fam? One of my day ones. He says, I don't know what is worse, getting COVID this Sunday or watching that game versus the Eagles. Just kidding. It's watching us lose to the Eagles. I feel you, man. I didn't expect much out of this game against the Eagles. I picked us to lose. I thought that, the Giants, in the first game, the Eagles, they tried to come out and kind of show that they could throw the ball against the New York Giants defense, which is not a smart plan with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. He is a running threat. I will not call Jalen Hurts a dual threat quarterback just yet. He is better when he is running the ball. And this game just reminded me so much of the first matchup. It's so similar. It's ridiculous. 3-3 at the half. The first game was 3-0 at the half. The Giants were actually winning. In this game, before we were outscored 17-0 in the third quarter, and then you end up just getting blown out 34-10. The Eagles lacked commitment to the running game early, and they gave us an opportunity early in that game. It's the same exact story as the first matchup. We end up winning that first matchup 13-7 in a game that really bothered me because I felt like Daniel Jones and this offense had plenty of opportunities to put that game away. Special teams had some opportunities to put that game away, and we just didn't put that game away, and we got lucky that Jalen Reagor dropped that pass on the goal line. I want to say he dropped another bomb that could have put them right down there to be in the red zone in position to score right before it. And it was a game that the Giants really shouldn't have won. I left that game, and when we did the recap on Tuesday after that game, that's Daniel Jones' last game. I said that hit that he took looked a little crazy. I also said that we got lucky coming out of that one. It's just that's the kind of game. When you look at the Eagles' drives in that game, it was mostly punts, fumbles, and interceptions on every drive. They sustained like one or two drives the whole entire game. And even in this game, you get blown out. The Eagles had 11 penalties in this game, and you still getting blown out. The Giants had 6 of their own penalties. And I always tell the Beard this, if you're going to be a team that is not efficient in the red zone, you better be a team that's maximizing your opportunities in the red zone. The Giants, they were efficient in the red zone, but they were only 1 for 1 in the red zone. And it came in garbage time with a touchdown to Evan Ingram. So we didn't even reach the red zone until the fourth quarter, which that's just awful. Jake Fromm, 25 yards as a starter on 17 throws. That makes no sense. It doesn't even look like an NFL stat line. It just looks like, it's like a high school stat line or something like that from a bad high school quarterback. And this is the first season in 29 years in which the Giants started 3 quarterbacks. Last time it happened was in 1992, surprisingly, where we started Phil Simms, Jeff Hostetler, and Kent Graham. This is crazy. To have Fromm out there when as a coaching staff he's not ready, to me is just suspect. The Giants are not an organization known to start a lot of quarterbacks, but like I said earlier, we're looking to be a little bit like the Cleveland Browns here if we don't get this situation handled immediately. Jake Fromm was the 15th quarterback since the 1970 merger to start his first NFL game in a Giants uniform. So Giants have definitely kept the quarterback stuff on the wraps. Mike Glennon, not so great in this game. But the Eagles, man, they let us hang around for as long as they could. And then they come out in that third quarter and they handle business. They get back to the running game, which is the Eagles' identity. And, for the Eagles moving forward, if they want to try to continue to keep themselves in that playoff position, they're going to have to rely on the run. Stop trying to throw the ball down the field. I think Sirianni, who was he had COVID coming into this game as well. He was on the COVID reserve list, and I thought that the Eagles would get away from the run if he wasn't on the sidelines, and he was on the sidelines and still got away from the run. So, he got lucky that the Giants are a bad team and that, he was able to come out with a victory in this game and the Eagles were able to win this game. But you can't do that messing around like that much more. You got the 7th seed right now. The Minnesota Vikings are definitely on your heels. The New Orleans Saints are on your heels, but that loss to Miami definitely doesn't yield well for them. And you got Washington football team still there in the mix with a 1% chance to get into the playoffs. But right now it is looking like it's either going to be the Eagles or the Minnesota Vikings. But the Eagles, coaching-wise, definitely going to have to get it together, man. And you saying, Lax, that, the Eagles' loss is worse than the COVID, that I guess that gives the Beard a little bit to look forward to with his COVID situation, man. I hope he can get well and get back on the channel, man, so we can get back to getting this content popping with the homie with the left side and the strong side. Y'all know what it is. So seems like, this one, a little bit split, I guess. We had a couple overreactions from some people from back in the day. Some OGs that know some worse football than what we're seeing right now. For me, I'm going to take the U on this one. I think this is the lowest point of my Giants fandom. I think it's because I'm so invested in the team, too. Covering the team now for 16 straight weeks for this season and going on our third season covering the New York Giants and the rest of the NFC East is definitely my lowest point because this is the most focused I've been on the New York Giants since I've been a fan, that the whole Ray Handley era was kind of a blur for me. I do remember the Reeves era a good bit, the Fossil era a good bit, and the Tom Coughlin years for sure. But I'm very invested in to be invested in a team like this and dating back to like week 10, you're looking at it like, man, we ain't got no chance. It's very unfortunate, man. So we'll see. And shout out Marcus Dazos in the building one time, or Dazos. I think that's how you say that. He also takes the under in agreement with me here too. And Ash Money says, we don't need to beat the Bears. I feel you on that. I definitely feel you on that. Hoping for a tie maybe in that game. We'll see, man. But the Giants have been playing some awful football. And let me just check these notes real quick. I just want to make sure that I went over everything I wanted to go over in that segment of this being the lowest point. Yeah, that's everything. Talked about the Victor Cruz one, the O-line. Yeah, we can move to the next one for sure. The Giants are 4-11 after their 4th consecutive loss. They are 1-7 on the road and 1-4 in NFC East road games. That is bad. That's really bad. 1-7 on the road, and y'all know we haven't fared too well at MetLife. I believe we got 3 wins. Yeah, we got 3 wins at MetLife. This stadium took our last L there last time we played at MetLife. So let's go to this next one here one time, man. See which one we want to go with here, man. Appreciate all of y'all still being in the building. We got about 65 across all platforms. You know what it is, man. If you have not subscribed to Awthentik and the Beer, make sure that subscribe button. I talked about the goals we got for this season. It's going to be tough, man, with the Giants sitting here at 4-11, trying to hit these numbers. We're trying to get to 5K by the end of the season. I think that this channel, the value that we bring to the community warrants that, and I think we should be around 5K. We'll see how it goes, man. But like I always tell y'all, man, everybody in this chat is fam. Nobody is a fan. We interact here as a community and as a unit. Giants Nation always in the building, man, and definitely appreciate all the day ones showing love, supporting this channel. Back when we only used to have 1 and 2 viewers in the live streams and all that, man, we couldn't do this without y'all for sure, man. All right, let's get to this next one here. All right, let's go here. Okay, I thought this one was really good. This one should have had a room split a little bit. I know who's going to like this one. I know who's not going to like this one. But tell me what y'all thoughts are on this one. It's sort of remarkable what Daniel Jones was able to do within this offense. If you think that this is an overreaction, let me see some O's in the chat. If you agree that it is remarkable what Daniel Jones has done within this offense, let me see some U's in the chat. And if you need a little bit of more time, maybe going into next season, you want to see what Joe Judge and a new offensive coordinator can do with Daniel Jones, let me see that hand emoji, or let me see the P for the push. See what the chat is talking about. I'll give you all a little bit of time to chop it up, maybe converse with yourselves here and come to a conclusion if you're going to take the over or the under on this one. This one is from @TheGiantsWire on Twitter. Always has a bunch of good takes over there at The Giants Wire. I'm not sure if I'm following The Giants Wire, but stuff always comes up on my timeline. Salute to you over there one time if you're watching. Let's see what the chat talking about here one time. Oh, y'all was quick on it. Y'all was quick on it. Okay, so Amazing Guy says he's taking the U. He thinks he agrees with this statement, and it was remarkable what Daniel Jones was able to do within this offense. Raziel the Great, shout out Raziel the Great one time. Been up in here in the building for the last couple of weeks, about this last second half of the season, man. Appreciate you coming through and supporting us one time. Zeke Anderson in the building one time says this is an overreaction. Got the Malcolm X vibes in that profile pic, man. Looking good. Appreciate you pulling up one time. Duran Osman is taking the U. He agrees with the statement on the screen, and he thinks that it was remarkable. Floyd Samuels is taking the push on this one. A pimp named Slickback. What's up, fam? Good to see you in the building as always. Says that this is an overreaction, and he said it twice in the chat. Salute to a pimp named Slickback one time in the building. Zeke Anderson says this is an overreaction. I got that one already, too. He 3 times told us one time that was an overreaction. I feel you. I definitely feel you. Ash Money in the building says our pick is at 5. Their pick is at 8. Why would we beat them? That's true. You could even make the picks a little bit closer. I'm kind of thinking maybe the Giants need to trade away one of these first-round picks to a team that's desperate, trying to get somebody in the top 5, top 10, and take their first-round pick. You know, still keep 2 first-round picks, but maybe make one of these a later pick, kind of try to do what we did in 2019 and double up and you know, add some depth and add some good players to this roster. Lucas says this is an overreaction. Shout out Lucas, one of our biggest supporters over here at Awthentik and the Beer. Appreciate you pulling up. I got Raziel. My man Max Webster says he's going to have to take the push one time with the hand emoji. The 5 fingers of death one time right there. I like that. Josh Warren takes the U. He thinks that it was remarkable what Daniel Jones was able to do in this offense. Mr. Nobody says this is an overreaction. Shout out Kareem Yee in the building one time. He says this is an overreaction. Yo, what's good is taking the U. He's taking the under one time. Wesley the Carpenter. Shout out Wesley the Carpenter out here breaking news in the Giants community at all times. Taking the O for the overreaction one time. Mac says this is an overreaction one time. Doesn't think it was remarkable what Daniel Jones was able to do. I mean, remarkable is that's a certain kind of adjective you use for certain kind of things. If we think it's remarkable what Daniel Jones has done within this offense, what do we think about Jared Goff? Tell me what y'all think about Jared Goff, what he's done over there with the Detroit Lions. Marjorie's in the building. Marjorie, I need an update if you've heard from Sunday. We haven't heard from Sunday in so long. I hope she's doing well. If you've heard anything from Sunday, any update. I know she wasn't feeling well last we talked to her. Haven't seen her here in a couple of weeks. Just want to make sure everybody in the fam is good. Marjorie is taking the overreaction. I'm going to try to keep my eyes out for the update on Sunday. If you give us one, Marjorie, appreciate everything you do for Awthentik and the Beard over here. Chris Atwater takes the under one time. Peyton Manning with wheels. That's funny because it's got Daniel Jones in a wheelchair. And for those of y'all that don't know, the Peyton Manning with wheels comes from Fisk Vegas, who on his channel, that was what his prediction for Daniel Jones would be come draft. You know, when we did draft Daniel Jones in 2019, things were looking good. I mean, Daniel Jones definitely got some wheels for sure. That's a funny profile pick though. That's hilarious. He's taking the overreaction on this one. Independent Outsider takes the overreaction on this one. Omar takes the under. Only if you mean in a bad way. That's funny. That's funny. Big Lowe's takes the under one time. Marjorie says remarkable and DJ should not be in the same sentence. Oh my God. Shout out Marjorie one time in the building. Marcus Dezos takes the push on this one. Fresh and fit in the building one time. says this is an overreaction. Wasn't that remarkable to me? He's better than the backups, but that's not saying much because he's worse than most starters in the NFL. That's a good point you got there, and I'm gonna add something to that too. Once we get over these over unders here, who else we got? He only had one game without his starting offense versus the Panthers. I'm gonna say it's an overreaction. Wow, is that really the case? One game without his starting offense? Somebody was trying to make a point that it might have been on this exact thread on Twitter that with all the injuries, there's no team, no quarterback who could deal with this amount of injuries and be able to come above water in a situation like what's happening with the New York Giants. And I brought up this chart. I wish I had it to pull up for y'all. It's on my Twitter. I'll post it for you again if you want to see it. But it talks about teams who are dealing with the most injuries. The Tennessee Titans not only are dealing with the most injuries in the NFL right now, I believe it was either a grand total of 23 injuries or it was 23 on each side of the ball. They've dressed more than 80 different players this season. It's the most in NFL history during the Super Bowl era. And on that chart, it was as of week 10, I believe, or week 11. On that chart, the Giants were right around 15th as far as the amount of injuries to starters. And to me, that just goes to show you what Ryan Tannehill, his value is to a team like the Tennessee Titans, who they are very predicated on the run with Derrick Henry back there. But the one thing that I will give the Titans the advantage of is with Vrabel over there at coach, they have the advantage over the New York Giants. They actually have a competent coach over there. And the Titans have seemed to be a better organization than the New York Giants in the past couple of years. Even through the Marcus Mariota years, the Titans were 9-7, I believe, for all of those years. All four of them. I know it was at least 3 in a row. I think they were 9-7 for 4 of them. I can't remember, but they were an average ball club even when they had Marcus Mariota over there. So that kind of makes me a little bit scared for the critics saying to bring in Marcus Mariota. He might look just as bad as Daniel Jones in this offense. Come to think of it, because he was with a competent organization when he was over there with the Tennessee Titans. I just think that you can't blame injuries. You want to see a spark at least from your quarterback, even when playing with, backups out there, next man up. This is the NFL. I saw Goldberg, the wrestler, was on Pat McAfee's podcast today, and he talked about that. This is the NFL, man. Everybody is good. And I also saw I forget the homie, Chris. He's an ex-NFL player, Chris something. He was on with Big Douglas and Big Pooh, the rapper, on their podcast. He said the same thing. Everybody's supposed to be good. You can't make excuses. And this is what he was talking about. He was talking about the draft stock spent on the Washington football team's defensive front and not being one of the top defensive fronts in the NFL after spending 5 first-round picks on the front. This dates all the way back to Kerrigan. And the other 4 guys on that line, Payne, Allen, Chase Young, and Montez Sweat, they're all first-round draft picks, and yet and still they're struggling up front. They are not a great front when it comes to defensive fronts in the NFL. So, it makes me think about spending all your draft capital on offensive line in the New York Giants situation. Like, just go out here and get good players. Don't look at this like, you're one position away, one quarterback away. Don't look at it like that, or, one offensive line fix away. That's not what it is. You got to fix a lot of positions. You got to fix the offensive line. You got to fix edge rusher. You got to fix linebacker. We could use some more corners and some help in the secondary. You got to fix the quarterback position. I think the New York Giants need another running back. You might need to go out here and try to find a steal in the draft or a steal in free agency somehow, a cheap wide receiver to come in here. Ross was not the guy it seems to be. He's been pretty much non-existent throughout this whole season. Kadarius Toney seems to be a guy who can be a weapon moving forward, but we need help in that department as well. So for me, it's like, just start checking the boxes. If you find a good out or you find a good deal on a quarterback or on an edge rusher or somebody you can draft or whatever it may be, just start checking the boxes and think future. Think very futuristic. Like, is this a player that I could see here in 3 to 4 years and have success? And just start checking the boxes. I think that's very important. And they call it a depth chart for a reason. I don't got to explain it. They call it a depth chart for a reason. Do not just look at your team and think you just need to get good starters out there. That's how Dave Gettleman looked at the offensive line situation going into 2021. He was like, oh, we can get by with guys like Shane Lemieux, Nick Gates, Andrew Thomas, and guys like Nate Solder. And then when one of them gets hurt, two of them get hurt, three of them get hurt, you're looking at an offensive line that is probably the worst offensive line in the NFL because you did not address the depth situation until right before the season. And guys like Matt Skura, Billy Price, Ben Bredeson, they're not going to step up and play like starters. You got to go out there and find those gems. And more importantly, when you find those gems, give them the benefit of the doubt to be developed in an offseason. Don't just bring them in a week and think they're going to be good week 3, week 4 out here on a team where they barely know the playbook. At times, our offensive line looks more confused than they look like they're just getting outclassed. You see Will Hernandez is struggling with stunts throughout the whole season. To me, that's a mental thing that coaching should be able to coach him up and develop a player like him who, coming out of the draft in 2018, people thought he was going to be a fantastic run blocker, and he looks terrible out there. He looks to be one of our worst linemen. So there's no excuse. To me, it's the Giants are not able to develop talent and not able to assess talent. So that's why I said earlier, like, I kind of give Dave Gettleman a benefit of the doubt and give him not a pass, but he brought in players that we thought were talented outside of that offensive line. He brought in players that we thought were talented, and they're just not developing them. That hands down, that's just what it is. He's just not developing talent, and that relies on your coaching staff. Joe Judge went out here and hired a bunch of coaches from college that failed, and you got the biggest coaching staff in the NFL, but you can see that the Giants are not developing these players. What's this kid from Tennessee, the first-round draft pick, Isaiah Wilson? He was the only guy that didn't play that was dressed in that game on Sunday. Why are we dressing him? If you're not developing him, he's been out here for a little while. Get him out there. Give him some experience in a real NFL game. I looked at his highlights when he came into the league and what he had done. Every time the Tennessee Titans put him out there on the field, it was when they were losing a game or it was when they were kneeling the ball out, and he was literally up there to just, say hike, stand up, and that's that. Get a guy some experience. You got to be able to find a way to develop these players. Otherwise, you're going to continue to see these losing seasons now, and the Giants have 5 straight with 10 or more losses. That is just not a good look. And no Mets, no Nets, no Jets. He says Ross was there early. What happened? I don't know. It's puzzling to me because you saw him. He started the year on IR, finally got out there. He made a couple of big plays, even scored a touchdown, and then just went straight incognito. You just have not seen him out there making any plays. And I don't know if that has to do with Jason Garrett not being here as the offensive coordinator and Freddie Kitchens going away from it. But, I mean, Freddie Kitchens just called an awful game plan on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the Giants do with the offensive coordinator position, because these things have to be like a marriage. Like, the front office has got to be married to the coaching staff. The coaching staff has got to be married to their coordinators. The head coach has got to be married to that coordinator. You got to be on the same page, because the head coach is going to give you the philosophy, and then the offensive coordinator is going to let that play out. They got to be on the same page. And throughout the whole year, maybe even throughout the whole Joe Judge tenure, we've never had that chemistry with the coaches, I feel like. It's always been one or the other. Defensive side of the ball looking really good, ranked number 9, And then offense ranked 31st in the league, can't score a touchdown. Daniel Jones only has 11 touchdowns on the year. It's god-awful, And then this year, the defense takes a step back. At least last year we were able to run the ball a little bit late there with Wayne Gallman. That running game this year has been non-existent. It's been awful. It's been awful. And shout out Rachel the Great. Rachel the Great says, Awthentik just basically said we need a whole new team. Yeah, that's what it is. That's definitely what it is, because when I look at the defensive side of the ball, I'm looking at Tay Crowder. I'm looking at Azeez Ojulari, Roche, Xavier McKinney, Blake Martinez if he's healthy when he comes back. That's it. Julian Love. Williams at cornerback. I like Williams at cornerback. He's been doing some things. Offensively, you got Andrew Thomas, Kadarius Toney. I think you got to bring back Saquon Barkley for another year. Give him his shot to show you he can do this on a healthy knee. Most running backs don't come back from these injuries like Adrian Peterson. All Giants fans have been relying on hope throughout the whole season. If Nick Gates is healthy, I'd bring back Nick Gates. Shane Lemieux, same thing goes for him. You need some depth pieces on that offensive line. If Evan Ingram could come back on the right deal, I might bring back Evan Ingram. As bad as this team has been, he's been a bright spot, I feel like, this season. Hasn't had the the drops like he normally has had, but he's had a couple there for sure, and he's not a great player by no means, but, he does have the one statistic for, he's one of 6 tight ends to finish all of his first 5 seasons with 40 or more catches. We know it's came with a lot of drops, and anybody who wants Evan Ingram out of here, I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you. And that's really it, man. Like, there's not much talent on this team. There really is not much talent on this team. Like, I would just clean it all the way up, especially if you're going to commit to the 2022 season and be losing. That's why I think Joe Judge is probably not the right coach for this operation here. But that's where I stand on it. And as far as the statement on the screen here, let me give you my opinion on this. This is 1,000% an overreaction. You got guys, Josh Johnson, okay, who we talked about here a lot on Awthentik in the Beard. He's gone out there in 2 starts for 2 different teams where he was barely prepped at all going into the game. With the Jets after Mike White, he went up there, he put up 3 touchdowns, had 1 interception. You saw him here with the Baltimore Ravens here this past Sunday. They took a shot on him with the COVID situation and the injury to Lamar Jackson. And he threw for 300 yards. Davis Mills is playing solid football out here with the Texans. He's got a 77.8 completion percentage on the year. Or I'm sorry, 77.8 completion percentage last Sunday against the Chargers, might I add, where he beat a solid football team. And 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's got Brandon Cooks still playing good football, who Brandon Cooks, I would put him in that exact same ballpark as a Kenny Golladay. They are very similar wide receivers. Brandon Cooks got 945 yards on the season, 80 receptions, 5 touchdowns. Kenny Golladay sitting on 34 receptions, just 34 receptions for just under 500 yards, no touchdowns on the year. And Davis Mills actually put together back-to-back games with multiple touchdowns, which is what I look for in a quarterback. Daniel Jones has struggled to put up back-to-back games with multiple touchdowns his whole career. He did it a couple times in 2019. And this year, he has not done it once, and we know he's out for the season on IR with the neck injury. And I think when I talk about Eli Manning, the number one thing when people want to argue with me about Eli Manning, I say is he was durable. The best ability is availability, and Eli Manning was out there throughout his whole career, didn't miss a game. And Jones here on the opposite end of the spectrum has been hurt all 3 seasons and put us in a position to be able to rely on our backup, where I actually see Giants fans going out here saying, why'd you get rid of Colt McCoy? It's the craziest statement to me to ever say, because Colt McCoy is no good. And granted, Mike Glennon is not that good either. But let's be real here. At one point, Colt McCoy was the highest paid backup in the NFL. I don't want Colt McCoy as my backup quarterback. I don't care how well he's playing over there with the Arizona Cardinals, because the Cardinals got a team that has weapons everywhere. Me and the Beard scooped up Chase Edmonds with Connor out for this game. I think he was out for COVID, being on the COVID list. And he balled out. Their wide receiver room is full of talent. They went over there. They traded for Zach Ertz. He went over there and played great football over there. Defensive side of the ball, doing things. They got Kyler Murray at quarterback when he's healthy. Colt McCoy, when you got the weapons, Colt McCoy kind of shows you that an average quarterback can still do things. And I think that's where Giants fans are looking for, or what Giants fans are looking for in Daniel Jones. They want the situation to look like Arizona. And that it's hard to build a team like that. But can't forget, Arizona was that team that 1 year in, I'll never forget it. Coach, GM, they had quotes from them saying, we're all invested. We're all in on Josh Rosen. Literally after the season going into that draft. And they pulled the plug on a quarterback after 1 year, because they see that guy in practice every week and they know Josh Rosen was not the guy. And then they go out there, they saw the quarterback in the draft, they go out there, they get Kyler Murray, and that fixed most of their problems. Because maybe the Cardinals were about a quarterback away. But that rebuild's looking really good right now. It's looking really good. And I'll pause on those just to get to this super chat one more time here. From Independent Outsider, shout out to you, bro. He says, draft means absolutely nothing if the Giants don't find players they can re-sign after the first contract. Also, can we fix the damn turf? Less injuries. That's a great point right there, man. You got to find players that you can re-sign. The last player that comes to mind, oh man, I can't even remember homie's name, but he was a first-round draft pick. He was an offensive lineman for the Giants. I want to say it was Justin Pugh, possibly. I can't remember, but he ended up going to the Cardinals, and we didn't re-sign him. So, if you're going to go out there and you're going to spend some draft stock on first-round offensive lineman talent, make sure they're the right guys. And secondly, make sure that they're guys you can develop, got their head on right. And don't, speaking on having their head on right, don't just go out here and get the good guys, because football is not meant to be played with just the good guys. You need those bruisers out there. You need those badass dudes that are out there that are like willing to take people's heads off. And, it's going to be ugly. It's not always pretty and nice guy and, guys that you can put out in front of, in front of the media and say all the right stuff. That's for the quarterback. We need some nasty dogs out there. You know what I'm saying? That's going to go out there and set a physical tone for our team. And right now we don't have those players. But I definitely agree with you on that. We got to fix the turf. You got Sterling Shepard out for the year with the Achilles injury. I don't think you can blame that on the turf necessarily, but the turf has definitely killed a lot of players here in New York. It's time to go grass over there or some kind of a blend or something. Just get it fixed. I totally agree with Independent Outsider on this one, man. Appreciate your presence. Appreciate you pulling up. And appreciate the super chat too, brother, man. Who else we got here? Just making sure we got all of them. Big Los in the building, too. Shout out Big Los, man. I appreciate y'all sending in these super chats, man, especially with the beard away today. Judge didn't want JG. Let's see what happens when he has his OC. Then we can decide what to do with him. I think that's why he's getting another year. Yeah, and it's unfortunate that it's just going to be a one-year operation. So it's pretty much, all in right here, We're going all in. The chips all in the pot. I'm okay with it, I guess. I mean, there's not really much else we could do. I'd rather just hit the reset button right now. You know how you plan shout out to everybody who celebrated Christmas and whatnot, and you got all the gifts you wanted. My shorty got this thing called the retro box, right? And it's got like all the games and all the systems from back in the day on it, like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, 64, TurboGrafx 16 for all my OGs. Y'all know about that. Sega the Master System, Sega Genesis. It's got all that, right? But like you playing a game, you get far into a game of Mario, and you got like one life left. You'd rather just hit the reset button and just start over sometimes. And I think that's where the Giants are. They're hoping for the Hail Mary to connect in the end zone, and it's probably not going to connect. And I think that Joe Judge, being that he's not an offensive or a defensive mastermind, he's not really in control. It's like he can't be above the X's and O's by just telling people what to do, unless you get lucky and you find that right offensive coordinator. I think if Joe Judge stays, that means Pat Graham stays, and I think that means you can expect a lot more of just mediocre and just average defensive play, unless they do something drastic. But the Giants are going to be strapped for cash here entering 2022. You're going to have to do this in the draft or trade away some picks to get some players in here, which I don't know if I'm in agreement with, because the Giants there's too many holes to fill for the Giants, So I guess that what Big Los is saying here is really one of our only options. Is either do this, go into next season with a new OC, same quarterback, same head coach, same defensive coordinator, and hope that they can get it together. Even if they get it together for one season, I don't know how much I'd be banking on, it being a formula for success moving into the future. I don't know, I'd have to see it for at least 2 years, because I've seen so much bad Giants football for the past 5 years, and it's been very bad as Joe Judge has been here. I'd have to see it for about 2 years before I'm convinced that, that would be the identity of the team. Ain't no telling, man, but I'm gonna leave my options open and see how it goes, but it's not really the plan that I'm leaning towards for 2022 for sure. Yeah, and Marjorie says, I think because DJ had a decent rookie year, it has been downhill since. It has been downhill since, and that rookie year, man, it was a little bit tough to judge, because Daniel Jones was turning that ball over left and right. I never seen a player turn the ball over that much in a New York Giants uniform. Like, I was around for Tiki Barber's fumbles, and it took Tiki like 5 years to get the fumbles under control. it didn't look like Daniel Jones 2019. And yeah, you had a lot of touchdowns and, you saw success in the vertical passing game and all that. But it came at the cost of a lot of turnovers and a good bit of interceptions. And, I don't know if Daniel Jones is the guy for the job. But as far as the statement on the screen, I think that's a good way to lump it right back to this. I don't think it was remarkable what Daniel Jones has done with the New York Giants. It was average. It was average football. 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions this year, 11 touchdowns and 10 interceptions last year. Those numbers look like 2 seasons. Those 2 seasons combined look like numbers from 1 season. If they told you, hey, the Giants quarterback had 21 touchdowns and 17 interceptions, you'd be like, yeah, sounds about right. That's 2 seasons. I know they were both under Jason Garrett, and I think we can put a little bit of blame on Jason Garrett for how the offense operated, but that has never happened in Jason Garrett's career. Like, he never had quarterbacks playing this low level of football. And I didn't get to see all answers about Jared Goff, but when you look at Jared Goff and how he's been playing, he's doing okay. 17 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on the season. What's happening over there in the Lions locker room has got to be worse than what's happening in the Giants. I mean, that roster with the Lions is awful. Khalif Raymond was their number 1 until they brought in what's homie's name from the Rams? Josh Reynolds came through there, and they got that other young boy who's been playing pretty decent lately too. But they don't got no talent. They really don't got no talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball. It's just tough, man. It's tough. Which we'll take this to lead us into the next statement. I got 2 more before we get up out of here. Let me see. Old man Rob says, "Face it, Judge is just a horrible coach," and it's looking like that. It's definitely looking like that. And yeah, somebody said it was Justin Pugh, who was a decent player, and he went on to do some good things, just like Kevin Zeitler. Leaves the New York Giants and leaves to go to do some great things. You've seen it with the moving of Eric Flowers to guard by Washington, even worked out. To me, that says a lot about the player development and what's happening here in New York. It's almost like, if you sign a recording artist to Motown, let's say, I'll use Motown as an example, and the artist isn't selling well, and the fans aren't taking well to his music, and he's been shelved, and his albums aren't getting put out, and then immediately he signs a new deal with Def Jam, and it automatically boosts the career, but then we got to look at the artist development that's happening at Motown. Just an example, and that seems to be the case here, because all the players that lead the Giants seem to go on to do better. Even practice guys like Khalif Raymond over there doing a lot better in Detroit than he was over here with the New York Giants. All right, but let's go to this next one time here. And y'all know what it is, man. We still got 58 in the building, man. I appreciate y'all rocking with me with my co-host not here. The Beard is sidelined on the COVID reserve list on a Tuesday. Club is not going up. Hope my homie gets well, gets better, man. Y'all know what it is. We do these shows every Tuesday and Thursday. Awthentik in the Beard. I appreciate all of y'all. Salute to everybody in the chat, all the fam in the chat one time, interacting and engaging in the show, man. We appreciate y'all pulling up one time. Y'all know what it is. We do this every Tuesday and every Thursday. The best division in football, the best TV show not on TV at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today's edition is a giant overreaction because my co-host was not here. I almost pulled the plug on the Giant Overreaction show because there really wasn't much to overreact to in the Giants community, man. But I found a couple of good ones yesterday. I was going to go live, and I was like, I had the show all planned and whatnot, and last minute I pulled the plug. But I figured it would be a good way to use this space for today. We normally go live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesdays, but I like to go live during the day when I do the Giant Overreaction because the vibes be better, more people pull up. But make sure to check us out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, and sometimes Monday for the Giant Overreaction. So we got one more before we get up out of here. Actually, I said 2 more. We got 1 more. For those of y'all that pulled up late, the first one was about Nick Wright. Nick Wright from FS1 said, if the Giants retain Joe Judge, they are not a serious franchise. My man Will Presti, hilarious Giants content creator, on Twitter said this is the lowest point of his Giants fandom. I agreed with that one. And the last one was, it's sort of remarkable what Daniel Jones was able to do within this offense. I said this one was an overreaction. I don't think it's really remarkable. Is just kind of the wrong word for me. That's it. You could, if you would have said it's decent what Daniel Jones has done, I would have probably agreed and took the under on this one. Now, last one before we get up out of here. We've been on here for an hour and 45 minutes, man. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Y'all know what it is. Time always flies by on these overreactions. This last one is the Giants are the worst team. Every team can score, backups or not, but not them. Garbage. This one comes from Pittsburgh Pirates pitcher. That's a little bit of a tongue twister right there. Matt Seelinger. I don't watch too much baseball, but I noticed on his profile he was in a Giants uniform, but then when I read his profile, it said he was a pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Shout out to Matt Seelinger one time. What's y'all thoughts on this? Let me see an O in the chat if you think this is an overreaction and the Giants are not the worst team in the NFL. And if you want to take the under and you agree with this statement, let me see a U in the chat one time. And if you need to get to the end of the season, 2 more games before you can make your decision on this, let's get the hand emoji or a P for my OGs in the chat one time for a push for this statement here. Let's scroll down one time. Mr. Nobody says prayers out to the beard. We appreciate that, fam. Appreciate you pulling up in the building. I didn't get to see Marjorie's comments on Sunday if she knew about that. But she did post some roster moves here, released from the practice squad. Sam Beal, defensive back Darquez Denard, Giants tight end Jake Hausman to the practice squad. Not that it matters. Did they cut Denard or released from the practice squad? Sam Beal, is that and Denard? Because I know a lot of people were being a little bit harsh on Denard about what he did on the punt where he didn't go after the ball against the Eagles. But it seemed to be in his defense, he had stepped out of bounds on his own merit. So if you touch the ball there, it'd be illegal touching. But Marjorie, if you can give me another update on Sunday, if you did have one, that'd be awesome. So what's y'all thoughts on this one here? Got all U's right off the bat. All U's right off the bat. Wow. Okay. So this is not an overreaction from my man Ash Money, Pat Barrios, Marjorie Simmons, Big Los. I'm going to give y'all one more track for this one too. Amazing Guy says the Giants are 100% the worst team right now. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets. Absolutely an understatement, he says. He's taking the under on this one. Mr. Mini Guy's taking the under. At this point, Giants can't get 14. That is crazy. Kareem Yee says he's taking the under. I'm going to save this other one here. Okay. Amazing Guy, yep, he's taking the U as of now. Duran taking the under. There's no direction right now. My man Sank Zappo one time in the building. What's up, fam? Good to see you here one time. Stash looking on point as always. He takes the under. Proves on the scoreboard, Kareem Yee says, taking the under. Old man Rob taking a big freaking U. If this was true, the Giants would have the number 1 pick every year. I feel you on this. A little bit more of an analytical way to look at it. Rachel the Great taking the under. We deserve it too. U, the Lions, from Chris Atwater. I don't know if he might have meant that this is... Okay, so he's taking the U. Giants are the worst team. Every team can score backups, not this team, but not them. Garbage. Okay, so if you're taking the overreaction on this, you're saying that the Giants are not the worst team. The Lions, close, very close. We're going to talk about that. Yo, was good takes the under. Giants are presently constructed, are the worst team in football. Appreciate your input on that one. Jordan said, finally, Sam Beal is gone. Second time he's gone now. They brought him back. Who else we got here? The NY Field Goal Giants. I like that. Graham Gano, he's been balling out. Got to give him his props on that one time. Chris Atwater says he's taking the U. The Lions would beat us by 20 right now. That's crazy. Crazy we're in the same conversation. Shout out Rafael Colon one time in the building, man. I was I don't know if you know about Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe, but over the holidays, I was chopping it up with the fam about Willie Colon and Hector Lavoe, which y'all know about them salsa vibes one time. Logic says caps on the U. Omar says U. Everything you have said today is proof. Appreciate that, fam. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets says the Lions can beat the Giants. The Lions definitely ain't the worst team in the NFL. Lions score points we don't, old man Rob says. Jordan says Gano is our most consistent player, funnily enough. I like how you worded that. Perry Mack says he's taking the under. Patrick Graham must be frustrated. And let me just scroll all the way back up because, man, everyone seems to be in agreement here, except a few of us, that, yeah, this statement on the screen is true. The Giants are the worst team. Every team can score, backups or not, but not them. Garbage. Yeah, we're all of those things. I will agree with that. We have 1-0 from Independent Outsider. I need a little bit of an explanation as to why Independent Outsider thinks. Oh, well, he did say if this was the case, I did read that one. If this was true, the Giants would have the number 1 pick every year. Now, I don't think that the record necessarily has to indicate that the Giants are or are not the worst team in the NFL. Let me see if I got any other ones. Yes, and look, I have not heard from Double Easy since before Thanksgiving. I agree with you on that. I DM'd Double Easy on Twitter, and he saw it at least. I know he saw it, but have not heard from him either. I was definitely worried about him because he was one of the people that like we conversed on Twitter just about daily, and he would be in every stream and all that, man. I just, the one thing I'm starting to realize about this Giants community is that, for those of you who aren't on Twitter, when somebody goes missing or MIA or, you haven't heard from them in a while, there's really no line of communication outside of them being in the stream. So I think, as the moderators here on our chat and me as, one of the leaders for the Awthentik and the Beard podcast, I think we need to come up with a way that we can all stay in contact, maybe a Discord or, maybe just some kind of a group email thread or just something that's, even if it's a text thread, whatever it may be, just so that when somebody is, not showing up for the streams, we don't got to worry so much. Because I will tell you, I'm definitely worried about Sunday. Haven't heard from Sunday in so long, and I've been worried about Double Easy. Reached out to him. Hope he's doing good, man. And I'm hoping that it's just the current state of the New York Giants making people kind of fall back from checking out the Giants content and pulling up to these streams. But hope they're both good. Definitely got to come to an agreement somehow. Maybe we do a stream that's just dedicated to that, to trying to figure out a way to have some kind of line of communication with everybody, because I think that's important. I look at everybody in this chat as family. I kind of like even the people who I don't know and don't see what they look like and stuff like that. I kind of formulate this like digital image of you in my mind and whatnot. And I'm definitely, we've created a relationship, whether it be through text or through the chat, whatever. I think it's important that we all stay in contact and make sure everybody's good. And speaking of that, I lost a friend actually this morning. My homie Camber, who is my brother, yo. We go way back to when I first started rapping and getting into the music business and whatnot. He was one of the first people I met that was taking like music really seriously. And the mother to his children passed away this morning, super young. Rest in peace to Liz. She was a great person. I told Camber the last time that we had all kicked it was like we were down on U Street down by Club Live, and I think it was like a Up and Up or it was like some kind of a rap concert or something. And we were like sneaking off to the car, and Camber had a bottle of like vodka and a water bottle, and like we had like some pizza or something like that, and we just smashed straight, had like a bunch of drinks and went back in and had a really good time. And she was battling with cancer on the low. They didn't really say it publicly at all. So for people like me, it was definitely a surprise, man. So definitely, keep your eyes on your loved ones. She was a great person, super strong. She was only about 40 years old. Raised a great family with my buddy Camber. And rest in peace to her, man. We're definitely gonna miss her. She was a great soul, just a spirit that just always kept it real with you. No cut cards, tell you how it is. If I can just remember, like, if you had a show and it wasn't that great, she wasn't the one that was gonna come up to you after the show and be sicing you, or nothing like that. She was just a really great person. And Camber texted me this morning. After I texted him and reached out to him, he said, my relationship with my lady reminded her a lot of my buddy Camber and her relationship, and they had went through a lot of turmoil together, in and out of their relationship and whatnot. But he told me they ended it on great terms. I just remember Camber, when it would come time for her birthday and whatnot, he was always shouting her out on his social media platforms, talking about how much he loved her. And it's just unfortunate, when people like that pass during the holidays. And this whole COVID-19 situation, man, it's just so serious. Like, just going to the grocery store today, just having to remind myself again, just double up, man, and just, masks and gloves and do everything you could possibly do and reach out to all your loved ones, man, and, stay in contact with the people you get funky with and you get down with, the people that show you love. Stay in contact with them. Anybody you care about, stay in contact with them, man, because life is short, man. And the older I get, the more I'm starting to realize that. My buddy Mickey, who he's the first person I was in the car with when he's like the first one in my age bracket that got his license. And he texted me today because today is the anniversary of Jay-Z's album, Life and Times of Sean Carter, Volume 3. And I'll never forget it. When we were 16 years old, my man Mickey, he had got a Mazda 626 as like a gift or something. Or like he had gotten some money for his birthday, and he bought the car. And he came and he picked me up, and we went on a ride. We went to like Montgomery Mall, and then we went all the way down to Sally and Latrina, two of our friends. Mickey was dating Sally at the time, and I was trying to holler at Latrina at the time. So he scooped me up. He had that Life and Times Volume 3, Most Def, Black on Both Sides, both those albums in the car. And it was before that I was like taking music and rapping very seriously. And we drove down and we played that Volume 3 all the way to Montgomery Mall, all the way to Sally's crib. Went over there, hung out with them. We played that Most Def, Black on Both Sides, and it was really a turning point for me in music with the kind of music I listened to when I heard that Black on Both Sides Most Def album. It really changed like how I listen to music. I used to be one of those people that the lyrics really didn't matter to me, and previous to that, I was listening to stuff like a lot of go-go in the DC area. Bands like Backyard, Junkyard, EU, and a few others. And, like Cash Money was getting hot around that time. I was listening to stuff like that. And that Black on Both Sides really just switched it for me. Just the way Mos Def started that whole album with the intro, and then when it goes into hip hop, and he took that line from Rakim and flipped it, where he's like, "Speech is my hammer, bang the world into shape, then let it fall." Like, just a great album, and it really changed my perspective on hip hop. And since then, hip hop has kind of been like a religion to me. And it was cool to see my homie Mickey checking up on me, man. It was really good to just get that text like, "Hey, bro, you remember this day?" And I totally remember that day. I'll never forget that day. It was one of, just being free like that, driving down Georgia Avenue with one of my best friends, and him having his license. I just remember looking over at him like, "Bro, we riding. Like, this is crazy." So when Nick the Wick was telling me about him getting his license, I know the feeling, man. So shout. My bad on that. Closed out the stream there for a second. But shout out to Nick the Wick, man, because I definitely remember how that goes when you get your license, man. And check on your loved ones, yo. It's super important, man. Check on your loved ones. Y'all know it's super important. And hopefully we can get that stream going where we can come get a line of communication, man, for how we gonna keep each other in the know-how and what's going on with everybody's lives. Don't gotta be nothing too personal, just to know that you're doing all right and all that. But it is what it is, man. But as far as this one goes here, man, I'm gonna have to take the under. The Giants are definitely the worst team in the NFL right now. The Lions are playing some pretty good football, fighting for Dan Campbell. Goff is playing pretty well, as well as he can when he's healthy. He wasn't healthy for this game. He even has back-to-back touchdowns this year, or back-to-back games with multiple touchdowns this year. The Texans, I know everybody thought the Texans probably wouldn't win a game all year long. And now they're sitting at the same record as the New York Giants at 4-11. So I got to say the Texans are a better team. They just took out the Los Angeles Chargers, who are a solid team. Marjorie brings up a good point. Also, the Bears looked good with Nick Foles at quarterback. That's true. 18 wins in 4 years, Mr. Nobody. That's tough, bro. It's really tough, man. I don't know how we still here. I don't know how I should have just let the stream just go off after we just X'd it out right there and just ghosted on y'all one time. But I don't know how that's, how we still here after 18 wins. I mean, that's just super tough for Giants and the whole Giants nation. The Jaguars are probably right there with us as the worst team, but I got to give them the benefit of the doubt that they just fired Urban Meyer, who was doing the most sleazeball stuff over there. And the Giants look like they're probably going to lose to the Bears and lose to the Washington football team. So for me, I got to take the under on this one. I got to take the under on this one. I think it's important to take the under on this one because the Giants are the worst team. Even though the record doesn't say we are the worst team, I think we are the worst team. So I got to agree with just about everybody in the chat. Appreciate all the good words, man, all the condolences y'all are sending to the to my homie Camber and the mother of his children, Liz, who we lost today. That was super tough. Yeah, and this is a good point you got right here, yo. What's good? Put things in perspective. As bad as the Giants are, we got to remember the things in life that truly matter. That's very true, man. And, we can't forget, man, that we're going through a real deal pandemic here. I know it's easy to forget sometimes, and the way that, I'll say like the government has instructed us to, try to follow the protocol of what's going on and whatnot. Sometimes it's really easy, especially with the vaccinations going around, no matter how you feel about it or not. Some people can feel like, hey, I'm back, I'm invincible, like I'm good to go when they get a vaccination. But the beard was telling me about his symptoms and whatnot, and how he woke up in the middle of the night with the COVID situation that prompted him to go get a test. And man, he was saying like it's the worst he ever felt, like the worst flu symptoms he's ever had. And the beard is vaccinated, so it's just interesting. Now it's like we're back to square one again, it feels like, with this whole COVID situation, with the new variant of it out here. And you got to check up on your homies, man. You really do, and I've been very secluded in my basement, just doing a lot of podcasts here in the studio, taking sessions here and there with a couple of a couple of my homies that I feel obligated that, if I don't do it, they don't got nobody to do it. And it's important during these times for them to get, their documentation out into the world, being their music. So I feel like, I'm putting my life at risk to be able to, let these cats come in the studio and get their thoughts out. And I think this is a really important time to be able to express your feelings, and I think that's why it's great to be able to have this platform and this podcast with y'all. And, be able to share my thoughts about the New York Giants and about life. It always gets to this point, especially on these Giant Overreactions, where we get to talk a little bit more about life, So, I just hope everybody out there with your family, man, y'all doing well. I had a homie, my homie Bro Jeff, who plays piano in my band. Right when the pandemic hit in 2020, he was, he had to go to the hospital. And Bro Jeff is a cat that's like, he's a big dude, man. He's a really big dude. So his health took a major hit, man. And he was in the hospital like all of 2020, portion of 2021. And I just saw on his Facebook today, and that's how I found out that my homie Liz passed. I don't even really like going on Facebook because it just seems like it's always bad news when I go on Facebook. But I did see that my homie Bro Jeff, he stood up for the first time, like on his own, on his Facebook. And I thought that was great because the dude was like in a coma for a while, and then he finally got transferred to a nursing home, where he's still at the nursing home in North Virginia right now. But to see him stand up was really good news, man. And I mean, this dude, I'll post something on my Twitter. He's the most amazing piano player I've ever seen in my entire life. I've seen a lot of piano players. I've auditioned so many different people to play keys in my band, and I've seen a lot of piano players over the years. This dude is a real deal genius. Like when he's playing the piano, his license plate says 88 fingers, and it's a play on 88 keys because the way he plays, I mean, it's just brilliant. The dude is great. Shout out my homie Anthony one time in the building. Let me see what he's saying here. Giants 248 points scored, least in the NFC. Washington giving up 407 points, worst in the NFC. That, man, y'all are in the dumpster right there with us, man. Appreciate you pulling up, Anthony. A little late. I don't know if I saw you earlier in the building. But yeah, man, definitely check on your folks, man. Y'all know what it is here, man. This was a solid episode. Appreciate everybody pulling up, man. We still got 50 in the building one time. And, I'm missing my strong side to my left side today. Let's get some biceps in the chat before we get up out of here. This was the Week 16 edition of Giant Overreaction with your boy, Awthentik, one half of the best television show not on TV. You know what it is, Awthentik and the Beard, man. I'm hoping that my buddy the Beard will be feeling a little bit better on Thursday so we can give you these previews. This will be pretty much the last Hail Mary for the Washington football team, as they have a 1% chance of making the playoffs. The Giants have been mathematically eliminated. Thank God, because there's some Giants fans out there that was banking on a little bit of hope of us trying to get in there one way or another, man. Definitely appreciate all y'all pulling up in the building. You know what it is, man. Everybody here with Awthentik and the Beard is fam, not fans. I see Omar. He hit me with the Spike don't care.
Spike don't care.
You know what it is, man. Giants been saying prayers all year long. Cowboys doing well. Shout out to Omar one time and his Cowboys. We'll see if y'all can get yourself a playoff win this year. And I see Sabrina's in the building one time. I didn't see you earlier. Shout out to Sabrina in the building one time. Man, this was a good one, man. 2 hours, solid. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my day here, man, in the studio. I'll probably turn on a little Apex Legends. I got a couple of mixes I got to handle and finish out for my homie Maserati Black. Appreciate all the love y'all showing in the chat, man, for the Beard. Definitely hope he has a quick recovery. Man, y'all know what it is, man. It's been good. Keep raising that bar, y'all. Hopefully the New York Giants will keep raising that bar. We'll see how it goes. Let me see what Marjorie's saying here. She says, Awthentik, when we play Washington football team, Beard needs to wear New York Giants jersey and you need to wear the Washington football jersey. We shall see. The Beard is a bit, I think he's like a XL in the jersey department. We'll see how that fits. We'll see, man. We will see. We will see. I don't know if I got the pride to not wear some blue and swap it out for a Washington football jersey. We'll see how that goes. Bluegrass asking about Sunday. We was just talking about Sunday, man. We really don't know how Sunday's doing. Hopefully all is well on all fronts with Sunday. Hope she gets well. She was saying she was a little bit sick the last time we saw her in the stream. I hope everything's well with Sunday. We definitely got a lot of love for Sunday. She holds down not only Awthentik and the Beard, but she holds down the Giants community like nobody else, yo. We definitely need her out here. Shout out Jameson, man. I'll catch you next show, Jameson, man. Y'all know what it is, man. Keep raising that bar. Keep raising that bar, man. That's the only thing we can do here, man. Check on your loved ones. Switch hats then. Okay, I might do that, Marjorie. I might do that. Just for you, we might switch some hats. We'll see what's good. But definitely appreciate y'all rocking with us on your Tuesday. There will be no 7 p.m. show tonight. If you didn't hear, the Beard is out with COVID. He's on the COVID injured reserve list. So we're just hoping that he can get back to 100%, man. I need my brother on the show. Y'all know how the vibes is. Y'all know the vibes, man. But like I said, man, keep raising those bars. Set them goals. Set them higher every day. If you reach them goals, keep setting them high. We will see y'all on Thursday for our recap show. I'll do the recaps on Thursday, even if the Beard is, for our preview show. I'll do those previews, even if the Beard is not well by Thursday. We'll come on and maybe I can get a quick little guest slot from him to give y'all a roadmap. I know y'all been keeping in tune to the roadmaps for the Washington football team. They did not hit the roadmap this week. They only ran the ball 9 times in the first half, which was ridiculous. I know the Beard was losing his mind over there with Taylor Heineke dropping back to pass so much on the day. And then your boy Kyle Allen actually came in and got a little bit of work too. But yeah, we'll be here on Thursday for the preview show no matter what. And hopefully by Sunday, worst case scenario, the Beard is back for the parlay. We got a Super Bowl to win in fantasy, so I'm definitely going to need him. The Beard, man, he made a great move by scooping up Chase Edmonds. He gave me the notification about that early on. Like, I think we should go ahead and get Chase Edmonds, and we scooped up Ronald Jones. Both of them had really good games. We got a great lead early. No Carson Wentz for the Indianapolis Colts this week. It's looking like he's got a slim chance that he can make it here, but because he's unvaccinated, I think it was like 10 days or something like that he's got to be quarantined and whatnot. But we're gonna need a big day out of Jonathan Taylor, so that we can win this fantasy Super Bowl. Y'all know what it is, man. And we did the draft here live on Awthentik and the Beard. Again, we appreciate all y'all help, man. Cross your fingers that the Beard will be here on Thursday. Cross your fingers that the Giants make the right decision here at GM and at offensive coordinator. It's looking like they're committing to Joe Judge and the at the quarterback position with Daniel Jones, so that's looking like we're going to have to just live with that. But definitely cross your fingers, man, that we can turn this thing around. I got faith. I do got faith, but, sometimes, you got to fall on your back a couple times and then get back up, and maybe finally we can get back in this winning column. Thought it was going to happen this season, but this will be the 5th straight season with a losing record for the New York Giants. So hopefully all that changes and America can get things headed in the right direction. We shall see. But again, I appreciate all y'all rocking with me on a Tuesday. And, pray for these Giants, man.
Giants, help us, God.
Y'all know what it is, man. Keep raising that bar. Keep living those dreams, man. We'll catch y'all on Thursday. Y'all be good. Peace.
Never